I'm going to prison for 10 years. If I don't laugh about it, like, I'm just gonna break down into like uncontrollable tears. The crime is so tied to my childhood. So I actually want to just give a really quick snapshot into the decision, and then we're going to go back and explain why I made that decision. So when I was 14 going on 15, I was in a health and fitness class, which is just the most bullshit class ever. It's one of those classes where you go in there and you don't really do anything and you're not even really sure why you're there, but everyone's getting good grades. You're kind of just hanging out with your friends the whole time. Mm-hmm. So there was this asshole kid, Trevor Vincent, and he basically convinces me to have me draw him a map to help him steal my dad's guns. And so
how does that happen?
So that's where we're gonna have to take a step back now.
Okay.
And yeah, it wasn't a decision I made lightly. And I think once you understand the context, maybe you can even have a bit of a heart for me. But I mean, you're gonna have to decide that. And I was definitely a piece of shit. I shouldn't have done that. So it goes without saying. So I was born in Cleveland. To understand things really well, you really have to understand my mom and my dad also. Every so often when my sister and I are trying to sleep, my mom is like telling us, hey, you have to crook your arm at a 45-degree angle or a 60-degree angle to keep yourself safe from Satan. And so she'd be sleeping.
What?
Yeah, and see, this is the thing that's weird about it is because it almost wasn't entirely out of left field for her, because we were homeschooled, and that's probably in large part due to the satanic panic, and she's constantly listening to Christian radio. So I at a very young age, I've consumed like these massive amounts of Christian radio.
Okay, the satanic panic.
Yeah.
That was when they were saying that like there were satanic rituals in like kindergartens and stuff like that.
Yeah, in schools, or that media was influencing it. She would like take a specific poster for a movie and be like, do you see the devil horns in there? And I'd be like, no. Right. And she'd be like, no, but if you look a little closer. And I'd be like, I guess maybe.
Yeah,
maybe
if I stare at the clouds long enough, I see all kinds of shit.
Yeah, we weren't allowed to read Harry Potter.
Right.
And like I was a good kid since we were homeschooled. I would like get up at 5 a.m. to do math equations. So I think they kind of saw me as like a little bit precocious, but I had like some rough edges. Like I would say swear words in my sister's voice and get her in trouble and make them think that she was swearing. Or there was like a book thing we had where you went to the local bookstore and you would track the amount of pages you were reading, and then you'd get prizes based on how many pages you read. And I realized very quickly, like, no one's coming to check if I read these pages. So right. I'm putting like 100 pages, like just getting the prizes. So there's like a cap gun incident where I like put a black marker on the orange barrel of a cap gun to try to make it look real so we could play cops and robbers, and everybody's freaked out and they're like, what's going on with Corbin? So there's probably some foreshadowing there, but ultimately, like, I really was a good kid. Like I thought I was going to grow up and become a pastor maybe. Like I got really into Jesus with my mom, and I'd have these like praying episodes where I would extemporize all the things I'm grateful for, and people would just look like, that's a Jesus baby. Like that's a real Jesus kid. So I was getting pretty deep into it with them. Well, the kinking the arms shit and the legs, it starts getting out of hand. And we're in Houston, and one night... And it was, I mean...
I was supposed to fucking sleep how?
It sucked, yeah. Oh. It sucked. So one day, Mom comes to us. It's probably like between 1 and 4 in the morning. God only knows. It was like dead of the night. And she's freaking out because on Christian radio, they're talking about how people... Or just the radio, I don't remember. They're talking about how people are dying from Taco Bell poisoning. And she's saying, hey, it's not safe here anymore. Satan's after us. It's time to get out of Dodge.
So what is it? This is the onset of schizophrenia or something, right? Like this has got to be something. Like this isn't normal behavior.
This isn't normal. So
okay. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know.
No, yeah, well, yeah.
You don't seem to be throwing in there that, hey, this is abnormal. You seem to think, no.
Well,
everybody.
once you throw in the Christian,
And my mom was very. I was raised Catholic, and we were very Catholic. Like, I mean, I went through CCD, which is for I was confirmed Catholic. I went to my mom.
I got my confirmation.
I could sleep. I could sleep however I wanted.
I know, but when there's layers.
No, there was
to
no.
it.
My mom would let us have Taco Bell.
There's
no
layers
issues.
to it, you know. There's like the normal like Catholic who's running in the family, and then there's like the consuming 15 hours of Christian radio per day, and that it takes you to another level. And so, from the outside looking in, obviously this is some kind of psychosis. But like as a kid, it's almost like that movie, The Florida Project. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's the kids in the hotel.
Oh yeah, they're just running around they're just doing whatever they want. They're
doing whatever they want, and because they're kids, even though it's deeply traumatic, it's kind of doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They're just being kids,
right? And
so there's an element of like, what the fuck, and this has probably influenced me way more than I realized. But there's also a big element of like, I was just like my mom saving me from the devil by making my arm go in a 45-degree angle or whatever. So she puts us in the car and like effectively kidnaps us because we're trying to stay safe from Satan. Like Dad's probably asleep or on a business trip. I don't know. So she says, hey, Satan's after us. Let's head back to California. I almost wonder like what other influences might have been there. Like she just didn't like Houston. Her and my dad weren't getting along. There's so many things to really consider that might drive psychosis and motivations, but I digress. We're in the car, we're driving to California, we've got to keep our heads down. Pretty much anything we see could be extrapolated to be a demonic force, like the red light on the top of a radio tower. That could be like a portal to hell. So there's all of these like major extrapolations that were like kind of just, I think I was pretty freaked out. I remember thinking at one point, like if I stuck my head up, maybe there would be like a demon in the car next to us. There was all these trucks. Like the trucks were
How old were you?
I think I was about to go into second grade because I remember I connect the dots with like math and grades. And so I was probably in kindergarten or first grade at this point. Homeschooled. So we're making our way to California. We're on the road for probably 2 or 3 days. And we come to a toll booth. It's where you pay and then they open the gate and then you keep driving on the highway. Mm-hmm. And I remember saying, we're getting closer. Well, we come up, the guy in front of us pays, so the gate opens. And then I remember just not being surprised that my mom just like jammed on the gas so she wouldn't have to pay and go through. And it was like pretty obvious, like, okay, maybe we weren't supposed to do that. Like you're a kid, you're not fully understanding things, but you're like, okay, yeah, she probably was supposed to stop and give him money like the other people.
Right.
Well, as she goes through the gate, she rear ends the guy in front of him. And so they both pull over, the guy comes over, and I remember him saying, this is the second time this happened to me this week, which is like the weirdest thing. Like, how often do you get rear-ended? I think he was like a car delivery guy or something. And so she says, hey, why don't you just go get your insurance and we'll work this out. Let me find my insurance. So he goes back to his car. And of course, she just drives off. She's like ready to just get out of there. That wasn't surprising to me either. Well, we're not on the road for too long after this. Certain things are fuzzy. But I remember us getting pulled over. So this was kind of like the beginning of the end of this little chapter here. And like one cop car comes up, another cop car comes up, another cop car comes up. And really strangely, I remember my dad being there. I was like, how the fuck, like what? Like, okay, so Jeff's here. And so I run out of the car to go hug my dad, and a police officer comes in between us, and they tell us, it's okay, you don't have to pretend anymore. And I'm thinking, what do I have to pretend about? I just want to go hug my dad. I love my dad. Well, my mother was clearly hallucinating. Mm-hmm. And not only was she hallucinating about these demons, but she was hallucinating that my father was touching us, which he was not. But this sparked like pretty much a lifelong relationship with CPS, with my sister and I, and a ton of interviews. And so I remember like being in a psychologist room. There's all these toys and like, do you understand the difference between a good touch and a bad touch? Well, not really, but I guess it's time to learn about that. And so my dad had been tracking my mom through like Visa and receipts, and he had apparently even been like digging through trash cans, finding receipts. And I think she was probably just using our Visa, so he was probably also just calling the bank a lot. And yeah, he was there. We all basically moved to Arkansas. My dad sells his company Lyra Inc., gets employed at Tyson Foods.
I spent a lot of time with guys that thought they could cut corners and get away with it. But when it comes to food, you don't want to cut corners, especially around the holidays. I like to have high quality food on hand, something I can throw on the grill or make when friends drop by. That's why I keep Omaha steaks in the freezer. In fact, my wife and I had the filet mignon the other day, and it was amazing. We also had a dessert that they sent, and it was, I'm going to say apple fritters or some kind of they were apple, like little apple pie things, and they were great. Omaha Steaks has it all. Steaks, burgers, chicken, pork, seafood, even desserts. Every bite is backed by their 100% guarantee, and you can taste the difference. Get fired up for grilling with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their Red Hot sales event. And for an extra $35 off, use promo code INSIDE at checkout. That's 50% off omahasteaks.com and an extra $35 off with promo code INSIDE at checkout.
We all get back in the house. Obviously, it's probably been agreed upon by other entities at this point that your mother can't homeschool you. I don't know the full details, but she's been diagnosed with bipolar.
Okay.
Now. So she's diagnosed with bipolar, but...
It sounds like bipolar with features of schizophrenia.
Probably.
Like she probably becomes bipolar to the point where she's hallucinating.
And that's part of the thing that's so weird about psychiatrists is like it's all based on science, but like they're not doing brain scans and it's all subjective. And like they had like a funny story they told where they're like, well, she couldn't spell world backwards, and then they immediately said she was bipolar. So it was like, and that was probably like a BS story from them where like, they're probably making, maybe sort of exaggerating things, or I'm not sure. But my sister and I are doing pretty well in public school. My dad is kind of taking us out in the middle of school days here and there to race go-karts, and he's just a complete workaholic. There's like a picture of him that kind of exemplifies everything where we're all at the Christmas tree holding presents and he's just there on the computer. He's just like living in the code, and like even on Christmas, like we're all like trying to do stuff and he's just like just trying to understand JavaScript or C# or whatever the hell and yelling at people about it. You call this fucking decent C#? What the fuck is wrong with you? And so one day my dad pulls us out of school and we like go to play at the arcade and we do our arcade thing. But we're kind of getting a little extra love and attention this day. Mm-hmm. And we end up going to another psychologist's office. There wasn't as many toys this time, but there was some news. And it was basically that, hey, mom has not been doing better. It turns out she's had an MRI. She's had a brain scan. This is not bipolar or schizophrenia. This is a brain tumor. Ooh. And they're so young, so it's so tragic. And so she has a glioblastoma in her right frontal lobe. And it's apparently the size of a grapefruit. They say it's so big that if they take out the whole thing, she's done for. So they're going to take out a mindful, no pun intended, yeah. They're going to take out just enough of it to preserve, essentially lobotomizing her to preserve some quality of life. She's going to have a few good years, and then she's going to be on a decline for about 6 years. I'm in second grade.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's some rough news, and they were pretty much right on the money. They're saying like you're going to graduate high school, and at this point it's going to go to her brainstem. We're not going to do procedures anymore. Mom has her procedure. She's out of surgery. She does have her few more good years. We make our final move to Dallas, and we're doing fairly well there. Mom is like taking us to school and pretty lucid, not really having episodes. But again, kind of coinciding with their perfect all-telling math between 5th and 6th grade, she has an episode with like a knife and my father, and they're asking, where are the pills? And have you been taking your pills? And we find like a huge bowl of jelly beans with pills mixed in. We find out she hasn't been taking any of her pills. And so she gets sent out of the house. So this is like 6th grade is really the year where I go from a kid with like some rough edges, but mostly good, to like, okay, I'm going to kind of start thinking about crime and hanging out with different people because mom's not here anymore. And the entire household dynamic is changing in a very significant way, very fast. Before we couldn't read Harry Potter. Now dad's buying us Harry Potter books. We're like overnight, we're watching South Park and George Carlin and Saving Private Ryan and just kind of doing whatever. So, in 6th grade, I would like come home from school and just pretty much break down in tears and like cry on my floor. And my grades started tanking. So this is where I kind of started affiliating with like kind of questionable kids and doing like little crimes here and there. Mm-hmm. So it started out with my buddy Tommy. He was one of 2 kids that I would become friends with that like claimed he was a gangster, which is one of the funniest things, partially just because of our age, but also because we're in these nice suburbs of McKinney, right, Texas. So it's a suburb of Dallas, and it's the most absurd thing. But he did have a foster mother, and he claimed he was from New York. He had this like lisp. He'd be like, "They mess with you again, Corby. These tweets, I'm not gonna let them on these tweets with you." Like, and like my family don't play like that. And he wasn't even talking about it. That's like his gangster family, like the family. And so we started kind of,
because his real family is like a home, a mom that stays at home and a father who's like a CPA or something. They're middle class America.
I have no idea. I think
like, where's he getting this from?
I think he might have had like some traumatic things with a maybe his dad was a gangster or something, or maybe.
But at 15, he definitely wasn't.
Yeah, no. And I mean, at this point, or even just in 6th and 7th grade. So we're probably like even 12.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So like, and I don't know when he actually went in with his foster mom, but his foster mom was pretty old. I think she was kind of one of those people that has a lot of kids in and out of the house, and she's probably kind of getting checks, and she has her heart in the right place, but it's also just kind of like a mill.
It's too much for her.
Babies and kids, and she's this old lady probably just paying the rent. I mean, God only knows the full story with her. But Tommy and I start doing little things like we're stealing DVDs and video games and CDs. Like I remember like stealing White Stripes CDs and the Jackass movie, and like we'd like go cut it out with a knife in the bathroom to make sure the security strip wasn't in it, and then wrap it up. And we're kind of experimenting with these things. We like stole a pack of cigarettes from somebody's car, and then I think when I was in 7th or 8th grade, I kind of had the bright idea of, like, I really wanted to drink beer. It was, like, really important to me. So I said, hey, why don't we, like, we're not going to go steal it from a grocery store. Like, you can't really put it in, and I think we had tried it. We had also gotten caught stealing candy at this point. Nothing ever came of it. The guy was just like, well, why don't you take it out of your pocket? And we just like kind of took it out and ran off. The store founder had caught us at the mall. So I had this bright idea. Okay, I'm like selling magazines. What if I go pretend it's like one of those school programs where you go sell stuff, and I'll go door to door selling magazines. I'll go to the door and I'll pretend I'm like selling them this magazine. It's like the most like bitch move I could have made, because it means I didn't have to do anything. Like I had the easy part of it. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go sell them this magazine, and then you're going to run in the garage, and like if they have a fridge, you're going to get beer out of it, basically. And so we tried to do this a few times. It was like a pretty spectacular failure. We obviously didn't get away with it. And we had the cops called on us. And so there's this guy, Officer Billington. He's a recurring character in my life. This was when I first met Officer Billington. And I just broke down like a baby pretty much immediately. I think I tried to have a front for like a couple minutes, and I'm like, are you gonna take me to the big house? Like, and like I was a kid that like cried at Disney World when someone cut me in line to see Snow White. So I'm just like trying to kind of like experiment with like, am I this bad kid? Do I do these bad things? But like ultimately I'm kind of this weird little teddy bear. And so we kind of get let go. I mean, we didn't steal anything.
Right.
You know, there was an attempt, but it was pretty clear, like, okay, these kids didn't steal anything, let them go. So I get in trouble with my dad. So this is where things get interesting, because my dad and I sort of became like my father's emotional support animal in a certain way. Like I almost took the role of my mother with him in certain emotional ways. And so we became really good friends, and we would go to visit my mother. And this is the saddest part of the whole thing in a lot of ways, because this is really where a lot of the motivations for the crime become just kind of despicable, as for me at least. So we'd be going to visit my mom, and we'd be on the road every weekend between 3 and 4 hours per weekend, right? Just going back and forth. She's in and out of like state assisted living facilities. I think she was in a nursing home at one point, in hospitals. And so she was at Terrell State Hospital, I think, and we end up seeing a shooting range on the side of the road. And my dad says, well, if we could go shoot guns every weekend, maybe we could have a bonding experience, and there could be like something redeeming about this. Like, yeah, that's how we're going to go. Let's go get a bunch of firearms. That's a great way to deal with mom's death. And so my dad's kind of like a go big or go home kind of guy. We start with like a 22, like a couple little pea shooters like that. And then before I know it, like we're buying guns every single weekend at Cabela's. Like he basically builds up an arsenal of over 50 guns within like a 3 or 4 year period. We're at Cabela's every single weekend. And my dad doesn't really like manage things very well at the house always. Like I don't think I remember doing laundry with him ever. Maybe once or twice. And so every weekend we'd go to Cabela's.
So who's doing laundry?
Nobody. My grandma would come visit sometimes, right, and she would find like my closet like literally like halfway full of laundry. And so she would come for like 2 weeks, and then she'd end up staying like 2 or 3 months trying to like fix the house and take us to the dentist and take care of us. So, and my dad would just say like, hey, we're at Cabela's. I'm not really in the mood to do laundry. Why don't you just go get some extra shirts? Right. So like every weekend or two, I'm just getting more shirts from Cabela and from Cabela's and pants. And so it gets,
I don't know what is that? Is that like a department store?
Yeah, it's like the Disney World for gun people.
It's like a Bass Pro kind of type thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like and they have like a huge waterfall, and it's like
that does sound like Bass, like a. What is it? Bass Pro?
Bass Pro Shop?
Yeah, Bass Pro Shop.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. And so you go in there and you kind of like get to look at the waterfall and all the stuff. And so, you know, my dad's working for Raytheon at this point, doing cybersecurity. But kids at my school are joking like, oh yeah, Corbin's dad works at Cabela's. Because they're thinking that's maybe why I get all the clothes. So I'm kind of like this weird Cabela's kids. And we don't even ever go hunting, but we're getting like more and more serious. Even the guy at the counter is telling my dad, you're probably not going to want to buy this scope unless you're going hunting. Mm-hmm. And my dad's like, but if it's a really far target, like he's like finding ways to spend more money and get more serious firearms. And like, yeah, we're shooting, what is that? Clay pigeons. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually got pretty good at shooting clay pigeons for a little while.
But skeet shooting.
It's been so long, and also I'm not a gun person like at all after this whole experience. So this is where my dad kind of starts to go to the loony bin a little bit. He keeps things together fairly well because like he's holding down his job and like he's starting to have anger outbursts, and we're slowly but surely becoming frenemies, where I can tell maybe he was jealous that I hung out with some friends on the weekend or something like that. So things are getting a little weird, and we're starting to have like even screaming matches over time. But there's also just like other odd things that happened that like I'm not even processing are weird or inappropriate. Like I even had a buddy on the phone call me, I think it was like a year ago or so, and he was telling me about, wasn't it so weird that time your dad was like having us look out the window with a gun? And I was like, oh yeah, like it barely even dawned on me. And so,
why?
Okay, so there's one day where I had like about 3 or 4 friends over, and I was pretty proud because at this point, I wasn't really a popular kid anymore. So to have 3 or 4 friends over was kind of a big deal. And our house wasn't always clean. So I was kind of embarrassed, but I was like trying to make the most of it. And like, I think we were doing a sleepover. And so my dad calls us down. And my dad was always trying to get my friends to go to the shooting range or do RC cars. And a lot of times they just weren't interested. And they would just tell him. But this night he's saying, listen to that. Do you hear that? And we're saying, no, what is it? And then, no, you hear that? Oh, yeah. Well, turns out the neighbors were listening to R&B music really loudly. And my dad kind of had a spat with the neighbors because they mowed part of our lawn at one point, and he really didn't like that.
God forbid.
God forbid, right? So because I was supposed to mow it, and we had this like little house, but there was a big backyard, but it was a big house, but a little yard with a big backyard. A little front yard, big backyard, and he had a riding lawnmower. And we would get so many looks because of that riding lawnmower. It was absurd to be mowing a small front yard with a riding lawnmower.
Right.
So anyways, we had this thing going on with the neighbors. He didn't like them, and he's telling me and my friends they might be getting it on or something, you know? And we're like, yeah, I guess, maybe, I don't know. We're like in middle school. We were probably 7th or 8th grade at this point. And so we kind of understand it, but we're not really kind of thinking about that stuff too much. And then he's saying, well, and I think they had a baby because this was like a family neighborhood. And so he says like, well, what if we could look through the windows? And we're like, yeah, maybe. And then he's like, well, okay, so we don't really have like binoculars or a scope that's not attached to a gun. But like this rifle here isn't loaded, and like slowly but surely, like we're all at the table, like looking in the neighbor's window with this like gun. And it is really weird to recollect that and to like have friends tell me about it years later, because I swear to God, when you're a kid, you're just going along with things. Like there's so many parts of me at the time that I don't think had like an earthly idea of how inappropriate or weird. We were probably laughing, talking about it, like, what the fuck? Like, we're looking at the neighbor's window with a rifle right now, and it wasn't loaded. But I think that's probably kind of a mark of the beginning of the end for my dad's mental health. Things are like going downhill. He's gaining a massive amount of weight. He's getting huge. But he has this thing where like we can bond over my mom dying with guns, and everybody knows because I have Cabela shirts on, and every weekend I'm bringing like 10 or 20 firearms out of the van into the house. So this is really how it all gets set up for my health and fitness class. This is where kind of everything is ready to come together at this point. So I'm in this health and fitness class. It's this complete BS class. And I meet Trevor Vincent. And Trevor Vincent is another guy who claims he's a gangster. Now, at this point, we're older. He's claiming he's a blood, and he plays the part much better than Tommy. Tommy had a lisp, and he's kind of weird. And, like, you're like, okay, Tommy, you're not, okay, yeah, okay, let's go pretend and listen to Lil Wayne and do our thing. But Trevor, you are kind of wondering. Like, there's still no way in hell. There's, like, we're in the suburbs of Dallas. There's no way in hell. He probably watched The Wire too much, but you are wondering. You're like, okay, you've got this red bandana and you've got this red shirt, and like maybe you're a blood. Like, I don't, maybe you go into the city or something. I'm just not sure. And he's always talking about like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas and acid and this drug and that drug. At this point, I'm smoking a lot of bud, and I'm also on hydros because my dad has like a box of different medications that are pretty much always full, and he has a lot of different medications prescribed to him.
Okay.
So
why? Just medical problems, or just?
I think he had some surgeries. He was having increasing medical problems, and I know he had like, he told me later he had been diagnosed with schizophrenia. But he also had ADD medications, the classic one everyone knows, and Xanax. He would talk about that a lot. I don't know if what I'm allowed to say or not say.
Fine.
And so, and he would talk about being on those medications, and I would take the hydros, but I wouldn't really touch anything else. Here and there, I would sort of get interested. And I remember going to my sister one time, and I was like, you ever just kind of get bored and like go start taking some of Dad's medications? Like, they're all there. Sometimes I don't know what to do after school. And she was like, no, I don't. She was like, no, I don't do that. And I'm like, oh, I guess it's just me. Don't tell Dad about this. You know? So I'm like going through all my own like weird drug things. And Trevor is coming to us with these increasingly bizarre plans and pitches. Like, and mind you, like, this is the kind of kid where he would look at the girl next to us and he'd tap her on the shoulder, and she'd say, hey, what's going on, Trevor? And he'd say, I was curious, since you're a bitch and a cum slut, if you could help me with problem number 4. And she'd say, what? And he would tell us he was about to do that. And so under his breath, he called her these terrible names. But she didn't realize it, and that was like the spark of his interaction with her. And so as a 14-year-old kid, like that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think it's funny, and
that's awesome. That's like a magician showing you a magic trick or something. You're like, okay.
What was it? Super Cops? Super Bad?
Yeah.
Where the guy, the
Where
bunny,
they hang out with the cop?
Is it? Huh?
Well, go ahead.
Oh, when he'd pull people over and he'd say something about a bunny or something like that. But he'd replace some word. He'd throw in bunny or something like that. I forget what the word, but it was just over and over. And they go, what did you? I'm sorry. And he, do you realize how bunny you were going? And they're like, oh, did you say bunny? Did you? You know what I'm saying? Are you playing with me? Are you playing? No, I thought you said bunny. Why would I say bunny? And he just keeps throwing it in. But then he'd say something else. He'd throw it in there. I forget what the word was, but he throwing in some ridiculous word.
Yeah, and this was from that time frame.
Right.
So maybe he watched that movie. Well, anyways, so he's this kind of guy, and he's coming to us with like these zany things he's pitching us. Like, what if we went to order something really expensive off of Craigslist, get the guy's address or whatever it is, and we go to the house, and we pull out one of your dad's guns and rob him for it. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good. Like, I don't want to do anything violent. And it just didn't appeal to me. Like, I was the guy that was like, hey, if we're going to do something, like, I'll be the guy trying to sell the magazines at the front door. Like, you can go in the garage and like risks like the BNE or whatever it is. But that just wasn't me. And you're like, well, what if we robbed a grocery store or stuck up like a gas station? And I'm just not interested. I never hung out with him outside of class, but during class, I was interested to hear about his like Hunter S. Thompson perspectives and like making fun of the girls and throwing paper airplanes at people with him. And like, just a quick side note, like, I feel like anyone that really idolizes Hunter S. Thompson is like generally a bad person.
Right.
And I mean, I'm probably kind of biased, and I had my little phase where I was like, oh yeah, Hunter S. Thompson's the man for sure. But like, he ended up killing himself. Like, he blew his head off. Like, that's what you're aspiring to. Is at the end of your life, you're so fucked and you've ruined your brain so much, you're just gonna blow your head off with a shotgun. So it's just, the whole thing doesn't. I'm just so over it. I'm so over it. And I've had like 5 buddies who just think he's completely the man, and they're just really delusional people that you just shouldn't be spending any time with. So anyways, he's pitching us these weird things. And they're, one day he comes to me and he's telling me, well, what if I stole your dad's guns? And I'm like, yeah, no. Why would I help you with that? Those are my dad's guns, right. And they're going to be mine someday. They're also my guns. And yeah, I'm good. Like, that's, and he's like, no, but hear me out. I'm going to pay you $50,000. Okay.
50 grand from, you're a kid.
Well, it does. I mean, I'm a kid, but 50 grand sounds pretty nice, right? And
yeah,
so,
but he's a kid.
Yeah, but he's part of. He might like. I think deep down, I know there's no way this guy's a blood.
Right.
But there's that inkling of doubt that's like it's more than Tommy. You know, right. he's got a higher likelihood of being a blood than Tommy. So I'm kind of thinking about it. And I'm just like asking him these questions. Yeah, but like, why would I do that? And would that even cover the cost of the guns? And what about my dad? And he's like, oh, your dad's going to get the insurance money. He's got a nice job. He's got a nice house. And this is where I almost start to wonder.
You don't know what insurance. Like you don't know what insurance. He doesn't know if your dad's got insurance on the guns.
Well,
you don't know about policy limits, like guns. Yeah. Like you can get like $3,500 for firearms on a policy.
And see, I was 14,
and that's a homeowner's policy, assuming he has it.
Well, and that's what he was saying. And see, I was 14. He was probably 16 or 17.
So he was older. He knew stuff.
But still, even then, how the fuck did he know that?
He doesn't know it. He's just making it up.
No, but the fact that he could even make it up, like, see, my dad worked for Raytheon. Right. And that's like a deep government tie. Right. So I know this is psychotic.
So at this point, he's now gone from starting his own company, right? Then that's turned into the job at Raytheon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Eventually, by way of Tyson Foods, and I think he worked for Sprint or Verizon very briefly, and he got fired because when he would take a shit, it was like an event of the neighborhood. Like you could hear it. Like he would sit on the toilet, he would just let it out. And apparently when he was working at Verizon, he had one of these episodes and he got fired. One of the women made a complaint. They thought he was masturbating in the bathroom. And he came home and he was crying and telling me about how he lost his job. And, I took a shit.
Horrible. This is horrible.
Yeah. So, he had kind of bounced around a few places, but
he had some issues.
And there was most of the times when we would go to get the guns, they would pretty much just give us the guns.
Right.
Right. But there was this one time we go to get the guns and the guy behind the counter says, well, we just did a background check and you're going to have to wait a couple days. And my dad says, what? And I'm thinking, well, that never happens. Well, let's just get them and go. And my dad's saying, well, what's going on? What came up? And the guy looks at my dad. The guy looks at my dad and he goes, you know. And I'm sitting there. And what? And this is like, the guns haven't been stolen yet.
Did you take a shit?
Did you take a really loud shit at a Raytheon? Maybe it was an RSO or something, or briefly had to battle that. I don't know what happened. I've almost wanted to do like a FOIA on him because of podcasts I've watched from you. Like, I wonder what. Even if there's no case.
Well, no, I mean they're gonna. Well, first, is he deceased?
Yes.
Okay. If you have his death certificate, yes, you can do one on him. Like if I couldn't do one on you, because they'd be like, "Is the guy's alive?" and you don't have any reason to need this. It's funny. The federal government will give you a ton of stuff on yourself, but it won't give you anything typically on someone else unless you can prove why I need this, or if they're deceased.
Right.
He's deceased. If it was public records, right? Like, or let's say the state freedom of public records, they'll tell you everything. You could say, I want to know about Colby got arrested 6 months ago. I want the whole thing.
Right.
But if it's federal, they'd be like, yeah, none of your business. Where if it was state, they'd be like, absolutely. What do you want to know? And
okay, there we go.
Everything about it. And so, but you're lucky because, sorry, he's deceased.
No,
but
I'm saying, fine.
Yeah, you could easily, and it doesn't matter if there's a case.
Yeah.
Because anytime his name has ever been brought up in any situation, like if he gave a witness statement to the FBI or if he ever had a background test done for any of these things, they're going to tell you, oh yeah, he applied here. We did a background check. Here's what was told.
Yeah.
So you could do it. Yeah. The answer is yes. That was a long way to say yes, you could do it.
Well, that's good to know. Yeah. I've been wanting to do that because of hearing you do it.
It's very simple.
Really?
It's like it's a one-page doc. You don't have to write anything, but you just say, hey, under the Freedom of Information Act, I'm requesting information on the following person. He was born this time, deceased. I want that. anything that you guys have on him from this date to this date. If his name has ever come up in any documents or any searches or any criminal cases from this time to this time, you could whatever. And then you say he's deceased. My relationship to him is he's my father. Here's the copy of the death certificate. That's it. So you don't even need the death certificate. You can get his obituary.
Oh, hell yeah. And see, my grandpa, who's also passed away, my step-grandpa on my dad's side, was telling me that if I were to do a FOIA, because I was telling him one day, oh, this FOIA thing, Freedom of Information Act, and he was saying, well, if you do it on him, it's going to be a Pandora's box for you. And I'm thinking, but what does that even mean? Like, do you know anything? Do you know something you're not telling me? And he just kind of kept it vague like that. And so I don't know if he was just blowing smoke or.
Well, also there's I forget the name. My buddy Pete would know, but there's actually the name of a number that's associated with you. And so when that number comes up, you can then take that number and say, hey, based on this number, I'd like to know more information on whatever. And if it's linked to other cases, it'll just continue to go and go and go. You're like, but listen, who knows? You might get 3 pieces of paper. They might say, we don't even know who this is.
Yeah.
You might get 180 pages.
Who knows? But so, because he was working for Raytheon, and I do know he had made some enemies at work. There was this guy. We're just gonna because it's Raytheon, and that scares me a lot more than someone claiming they were blood. I will just say his name is R. But we had met this guy R a few times, and he was friends with my dad. And if he watches this, he would know immediately. And my dad would you would hear him on the phone oh, this bitch at work, she thinks she's all hot shit, and I'm a hot girl. And you'd hear him saying these crazy things, and we thought his buddy R was kind of it turns out my dad had conversations recorded and sent to HR for a long period of time.
I was going to say, pretty sure you can't say this bitch at work.
But
pretty sure that's going to go bad.
He was also kind of an awarded programmer within Raytheon.
Yeah.
And I think he was sort of seen as I think he was kind of a next level pro, because he was on a ton of Adderall. And saying he's out of his mind, living in code. He'd show me his computer, be 50,000 lines that he had written just going through it. And you're like, looks like Einsteinian math, or it's probably overblown, but it's still. And you'd hear him yelling about best practices and just bringing the hammer down on other So he was a serious programmer. He took it very seriously. So I almost wonder, and I don't think this is real at all. This is a psychotic part of my brain, but I almost wonder if Trevor Vincent was some kind of older agent, and then maybe there's an entrapment thing, or if there's some plot against my dad. But I think that's just craziness. But it's just because Trevor knew to say these things, and he was older, and I never saw him anywhere else at school.
Mm-hmm. You said he was 6. He's 2 years older than you.
I know, but I'm not, I'm telling you, there's no way it's true.
Right.
But there's that part of my brain where I'm when the guy's looking at my dad saying, you know, I'm almost thinking, oh yeah, Trevor's in a van with the CIA or something, and they're plotting him because he fucked up some kind of cyber code or something, and he's
wow, you're going.
They got to bring him down.
A huge rabbit hole. With
there's no way. There's no way in hell. It's complete nonsense.
It could also just be he just overheard things from older people and put together a plan.
Yeah.
I have a buddy that when I was, how old was I? I was 16. I had to be 16 or 17 because I was driving. I had a buddy who got his car broken into, and he went to his dad. His car was broken into, and they stole the radio. This is back when radios got stolen,
right?
So somebody stole his radio. Okay. So he goes to his father, and his father said, well, my radio was stolen. He's like, well, I know what I don't know what you want me to tell you. He said, you can try and claim it on your car insurance. So they called their car insurance company. And the car insurance company was they said, whatever, your deductible is it's, like $500 or something, and the radio is $350, because this is a long time. This is 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And he was like, man. And so I remember being at dinner like that night when he heard that, and I told my dad who had was working for State Farm, worked for him for like 40 years. And I said, my friend, what was his name? Arthur. I said, Arthur's car got broken into, and they said, I explained the thing about the deductible, because I'm a kid. I don't really know anything about a little bit about deductible. I was like,
you probably overheard some things.
Yeah, a little thing. And I'm like, I don't understand. Why wouldn't they pay for it? And he's like, well, they would pay for it. They'd pay for whatever it be. And he's explaining to me. And then he said, where was his car? And I went, it was at his house. And he said, well, was it in the driveway, or was it in the street? And I go, it was in the street. And he goes, huh? And he goes, oh yeah, he's not going to get it covered. I said, why does that matter? And he goes, well, if it was in his driveway, he could claim it on the homeowner's insurance.
Right.
And I went, oh, okay. And I go back to Arthur and I say, listen, you need to call the homeowner's insurance company, your dad's homeowner's insurance company, for the house, and tell him that the car was parked in, because he had a police report. And all the police report said was it was at the house. Here's the address.
So he still got time to make it right. Yeah.
So he goes to his dad.
Keep his story straight. Yeah.
Goes to his dad and says, Dad, here's what Matt said.
And he ended up getting the radio paid for.
No, his dad was a lawyer. He goes, well, that would be insurance fraud. And he said, we're not going to do that. He said, it was parked there. He said, because first of all, he had an issue with Arthur. He did not like he did not like this kid. He didn't like, I don't know if Arthur was a stepson or what the relationship was there, but he was not helping this kid.
Sure.
He's not getting him a new radio.
Yeah.
He doesn't like this
No
kid.
way.
I don't know what the issue was, but whatever it was. So I remember telling Arthur, I said, do you know who you're, because he told me no. Yeah, my dad said no, he's not going to call. He said he's not going to do that. I went, okay. I said, who do you have for insurance? And he's like, I don't know. I said, well, if you could find out, you could probably just call, because my dad said that people just call in and make the claim. Like, these people don't know. Whoever he's calling, they don't know if this is your dad or not.
Right.
And he goes, yeah, you're right. So he goes, he rifles through all their stuff. He finds out it's like Allstate, or I don't know who it was, Farmers Insurance or something. He calls how do I make a claim? He calls and says he's his father. He says, my son's vehicle was in the driveway, blah, blah, blah. And then they said,
how old were you at the time?
I'm like 16. I think Arthur was probably 17 or 18.
Okay.
I think he was 18 because he had a bank account.
And so this was all based off your advice.
This is all based on my father
Insurance
saying,
fraud.
oh no, it gets worse.
Okay.
So then I take that back. I probably was 18. And Arthur was probably, no, wait, you know what? I know I was 17 and he was 18 or 19. I was definitely 17 because I remember the vehicle I had.
Yeah.
The only reason I know that is that there's a whole, remember the thing where I borrowed the guy's motorcycle and I dropped the motor? It was Arthur's. Because this is what he buys with the
I'm really surprised I haven't heard this story.
With the insurance check. So what he does is he calls up and they say, he says, my son, he explains the situation. He makes a claim, and they say, okay, send us in. Do you have any receipt? And he ends up saying, well, it was an aftermarket radio. So it was like a whole system he had in his car. And they go, okay, well, we could give you like the standard money for the standard, but if it's aftermarket, you have to provide the receipts.
God, he went through so many hoops at this point.
Listen, we go to a friend of ours who worked at Sound Advice. This was a place. It's not there anymore.
Is this your first scam you ever pulled?
This isn't a scam. I made no money.
Well,
I didn't make any money. I'm just directing, and I'm really barely directing because when he's like, "Man, they want receipts and this," and I'm like, "Hey, doesn't Tommy work at I don't know what the kid's name was.
Yeah.
But then he worked at Sound Advice, and I go, because I knew who he was, but we probably never talked.
Yeah.
And he's like, fuck yeah, you're right. So we go down there. Tommy writes up like $6,500 in receipts for this sound system.
Woo!
He then sends it in. They say there's $1,000 deductible, so we can't give you $6,500. Here's $5,500.
Yowza.
$5,500 was a $300 radio.
Yeah.
He then takes that. He ends up buying. He ends up buying a Ninja 600. This is when those were, I don't know, they might still be cool. When I was a kid, I thought they were. And he ends up buying this fucking motorcycle and everything. Like they cut the check to his dad. He endorses the back of the check, deposits the fucking check. It goes through. This is when you could do that. Now you can't really endorse.
His dad never found out?
Never found out. Bought a brand new car. His dad's like, you're not bought a motorcycle. You're not parking that motorcycle. Where'd you get the money for that motorcycle?
I'm not sure if you'd get away with that today.
No, I don't think you can even deposit a check anymore. I think if someone endorses a check, they don't even let you deposit. You have to bring the person with their license or something.
Yeah, it'd be tough.
Yeah. But regardless, this is 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Still, all of that stemmed from my father saying, well, it's too bad. If the car had been parked in the driveway, he could have claimed it on the homeowner's insurance.
Right.
And next thing, that turned into this fucking insurance fraud.
Yeah.
That just from one. So I'm saying your buddy, he could have just overheard one or two things and put it together.
Yeah.
And you're a kid. And I've always said, you only need a little bit more knowledge on a subject to prove to someone else you're an expert.
That's true.
If I know a little bit more about stocks, I can prove to you that I could have you believing that I was an expert trader.
Right.
Because I know more than you. And you're like, oh wow, he knows.
And I hear 3 terms and you don't need to actually explain those terms. You just need to even know about them in general. And then I'm thinking, holy shit. And then I'm Googling.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Right. But if an actual broker was sitting there, he'd be like, none of that's true. Or that's kind of true. Or that won't work. What are you talking about? Shut up. You don't know anything.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a good point. He probably overheard something. God only knows. But he's basically saying, like, I'm going to get you this 50 grand. Your dad's getting the insurance money. No question about it.
Yeah, you believe it. 100%.
Okay, well, I guess so.
So have you ever made an insurance claim on a piece of property?
I think I did on my car. My car got stolen a few years ago.
No, I meant like on a homeowner's insurance policy.
I don't think so.
So here's the thing. They have limits.
Yeah.
So you have like a limit of for electronics, the limit might be $5,500. For weapons, it might be $3,500. For cash, it might be $2,000. So if you said, hey, I had $8,000 in cash stolen out of my safe and I had $10,000 in electronics stolen, they'd be like, yeah, okay, so here's your $5,500 for your electronics. You go, what? It was $10,000. They go, and here's your $2,000 for your cash. You're like, it was $8,000. Like, but you hit the limits. Yeah. Now you can ask for a rider. You can say, hey, listen, by the way, I've got this insurance policy. Oh, by the way, I have a lot of jewelry. Like my wife's jewelry is this and this, and because jewelry is only $8,000 or something. And they'll be like, oh, okay, well, you need a rider then. And then they'll write, well, how much is it total? It's at least $40,000, $50,000. And they go, oh, okay, $50,000. You pay a little bit extra for that.
Yeah.
But, there's these standard policies don't typically cover all those things. So that's why I'm saying when he said 50, oh, he'll get the insurance. I thought, you fucking idiot. There's no fucking way you're getting $50,000 on a homeowner's insurance policy.
Yeah. And this,
unless he had a special rider for all of his weapons, which he might. Yeah. He seems a smart guy.
It all did kind of seem to make sense, but I did kind of think like, well, I don't even know if he has the insurance, but also like.
But you're 16. What are you, 16?
I was 14.
Oh God, you're 14 years old.
I was 14.
Thinking.
Yeah, and so I'm just like, well, the 50. I'm just kind of thinking like maybe he's right, maybe he's wrong. Like maybe I'll get $50,000, and so So I don't give him the yes right away. And again, Trevor, I never saw him outside of class, never hung out with him outside of class. Now, as I'm kind of thinking about it, a couple of other interesting things happen where my father and I's relationship is just like degrading. In general, we're kind of okay, but like we have some serious fights. It's pretty black and white that he's like verbally abusive. I think that term gets thrown around pretty lightly. But like I remember being like in 5th grade and I put off a project and I was asking for his help and we're working on it till 1 a.m. and he's like just screaming at the top of his lungs. And that was like an age where it shook me to my core and I'm like realizing like, oh, I didn't know human beings were capable of this. Like, who is this person? Like, I don't know. My sister was saying, like, oh, he's not our father anymore. Like, it's just
she's done with him.
No, she's she's done with him, and she's saying like it's not even the same person.
You're dead to me.
She's not saying she's dead to me. she's just like, it's almost like this horror story of like accepting a death that happened that nobody really realizes. You know, she's just like, well, he's not the same person. Like she would just tell me one-on-one, and she goes and gets raised by the neighbors because like they don't take her in officially, but she's best friends with their kid, and like they just get along, and they kind of know that we're having problems at the house. So she's just constantly at the neighbor's house. Like she's almost never home. And so Trevor was making me this $50,000 offer.
Right.
And I was thinking about it. Now, as I was thinking about it, two things happened that really cemented things going downhill further with my dad. Things had been going worse for a while. We have this frenemies element going on. The first thing is, one night I'm out with my buddy Austin and a different Trevor, not Trevor Vincent. He's like a kind of a bigger kid, and he's really funny. And me and my two buddies decide we're smoking bud, we're on hydros, and one of them has some Adderall. And so I take an Adderall.
You're 14 years old.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and so I took some Adderall, and this was like one of the only times I ever really did it. And I just went, like, I turned into like a general. Like, I was really enjoying it, and probably way more than I should have. And so I got this clever idea because there's this kid, Andrew, Andrew and I were friends at a certain point. He was much better at guitar than me. He probably still is.
Where'd that come from? Okay.
And we were like generally friends, but then he would kind of start saying like, oh, well, you're Corbina and you're gay. And it was like, well, I'm not gay. I don't know. Like maybe I talk a little different sometimes or whatever. It's like there's certain guys where they hear you trying to talk properly and they just make the decision for you. Oh, you're gay. And so he's kind of been picking on me. And it even got to the point where I'd had my dad call Andrew. And Andrew had seen my dad yell at me. Mm-hmm. And so Andrew was like, well, you're one to talk. Like, you just fucking yell at your kids, and you probably want to hit them too. You probably are hitting them. Just because I didn't see it doesn't mean it doesn't. So Andrew tells my dad off, which was actually, I guess, probably nice of Andrew. Maybe he wasn't so bad. But I was like, we need to egg his house, and we need to toilet paper his house. And so I'm like, come on, guys, we're doing this. Like, I'm definitely the ringleader on this. Like, I come up with it. Like, let's go get the eggs. Let's get the toilet paper. It's like December. It's freezing cold. And so we head out there, egg in his house, throwing the toilet paper. There's a ton of eggs. I think it was 2 dozens. And we get home. I think we'd pulled an all-nighter. It's probably like 4 or 5 in the morning. And my buddy gets a call from Andrew. Of course, Andrew had suspected us. I mean, we were probably the first people you would suspect. Like, right. We had problems. And I remember looking at Austin saying, don't you fucking answer that phone. Do not answer the fucking phone. I'm getting like livid because he's saying, well, we could just talk to him. And maybe he's like, maybe he heard it or he saw it and he feels, no, we're not talking to him. He answers the phone and I get really pissed. So I walk out of the room. And I come back in, and he's like, dude, I told him. I'm like, what the fuck? Dude, why did you do that? You ruined. We would have been fine. We would have been in the clear. It was over. And he tells him everything. He's like, I'm sorry, I don't know. Because he heard it, and he thought maybe it was hailing, and he got freaked out. And then he thought of the people at school that don't like him, and he has problems with, and then he called us, and the whole thing got figured out. So the next day, we're on the phone with Andrew, and he's saying, hey, my parents are saying that because the eggs are frozen on the roof now, we might have to like have work done on it. There might be serious damage. And they're not sure what the next step is. They're talking about potentially filing a police report or, I don't know what's going on. So my dad had a power washer and we couldn't rent a power washer because we weren't old enough. And so I go to my dad and I say, hey, my friends apparently egged this house. I just got a call from them, and I'm just kind of worried about them. They're saying because it froze on the roof or something, they might have to file a police report. And I don't know. I know you got that power washer. Maybe we could help them out. And this is like a Saturday or a Sunday. Like we all had the day off. There's still some time. He was like, yeah, well, no. I don't want to get involved in that. And I'm like taking the day off and doing stuff. Okay, yeah, no, I totally understand. Like, go back upstairs. And I think about it for a second. Come back downstairs. Hey, Dad, so I actually might have thrown a couple of the eggs. I might have thrown 3 or 4 of them. And, we probably need a little extra help. And so he's so pissed. He's like irate. He's screaming. And of course, he decides to, like, the parents get together. We have like ladders and the power washer. And we're like trying to get these eggs off this roof and like taking all the toilet paper down. And my dad's really pissed. The other thing that happens is I get caught for smoking. I'd snuck out to the tennis courts and I came back in and they could all smell it on me. And they said, hey, Corbin, here's this box of brownies. And so I was really excited and I went to take a bite and it was a black foam eraser and everybody's laughing at me. Like, oh, Corbin's such a pothead. And then the teacher gets wind of it and calls me. So like things are kind of going wrong and my dad is getting to the point, especially it was really the eggs. The egg situation just set him over the edge. And he's saying, hey, you've got a few more years left. The second you graduate, I don't know what's next for you, but it's not at this house. You're not getting help from me. There's not a dime for college. Your mom's sickness has eaten up every dime we've had. We're basically broke. Of course, we can afford however much money he spent on all the guns and all the stupid RC cars and planes and stupid bullshit, but you can't have any money for college. And so, okay, that's something I accept. And we were yelling and fighting and screaming so much. I do remember at one point looking at him on the stairs and thinking, yeah, and we'll see like kind of who's who when the guns are gone, And so it's terrible, but there was like certain motivations where it was like, fuck my dad. And I don't know, like there was genuinely a part of my brain thinking, maybe I could get the $50,000 and go to college. Like that was a genuine thought I had because there was all these conversations and I didn't know what was going to be next for me. So I go to Trevor and at this point I need to take some responsibility because I'd kind of written him off and told him, no, now I'm saying, okay, Trevor, here's what we're going to do. I don't want to get caught and I don't want to be involved. I'm not going to take the guns, but I'm going to draw you a map. We cannot have any texting or digital evidence that ties us to this crime. This is where I get really fucking stupid. So I say, so we'll send MySpace messages and they're going to be coded. So you're going to have a diagram of where all the guns are in the house and you're going to have all these code words. And I'm going to say, I'm thinking about going to buy a blue Ibanez guitar or a white Gibson or a Taylor acoustic or whatever it is. And then this equals 3 days at 7 p.m. This equals call it off. This equals, we're home right now, don't come. So there's like all these different sort of things I'm trying to think about so that we could maybe outsmart the police and not get caught. It's a pretty terrible plan. And my diagram shows where the firearms in the house. They're in this back corner of my dad's closet downstairs. Now, there were also some firearms tucked away in a couple other places of the house. There was this one back game room upstairs, which was like, this is really embarrassing to say, but it's basically like a poop room because we have this little dog Einstein and we just didn't have the time for it. We didn't really potty train it. And so there would be like a manure field back there. The house was like a really nice house. And my dad like clearly had a good job, but like everything was just so mismanaged. And so I don't think things get fuzzy, but I don't think I told him about where the guns were upstairs. And I almost wonder if just embarrassment of the poop might have played a little bit of a decision there. But there was only a couple up there. I think there was like a shotgun and a pistol. But there was the lion's share of everything was downstairs in my dad's closet. So I draw on the map. And I pretty much, like, I'll just never forget, like, being there in class. And, like, we're supposed to be taking a test. I'm like, oh, this gun goes here. And, like, looking over at the teacher. And, like, this other kid, Kevin Kennard, who was, like, also this weird stoner guitarist kid that was, like, actually a decent kid. And he, like, worshipped Kurt Cobain. like, whoa, like, does Kevin know? Or maybe like I'll only talk about this with Trevor. Like I'm starting to kind of put the pieces together that like this is a serious decision and like there could very well be consequences. And so after I finished drawing the map, I asked Trevor, so what happens like if we want to call this off, or what happens if we get caught? Like I'm just not really sure. Like this seems like I'm not totally like I've been wavering on this for a long time.
Right.
If I'm having like buyer's remorse, what do we do? And he basically says, well, if we end up getting caught and you end up talking to the police, you have all your little code words. I don't need to write mine down. I can make one call from prison and the family will have your family taken care of. And so
You're a suburban crypt or blood or whatever. It's a suburban. I'm a member of the Suburban Bloods. I mean,
yeah, but
he's a child. He's a
child. But I mean, this one did hit me because, I mean, if you're gonna take my dad's guns, maybe you would kill me too. You know, I mean, this one felt like I'm not questioning this as much. Like, once you're thinking about you and your family getting murdered, like you're freaked the fuck out. You're like, okay, I fucked up, basically. Like I made a mistake. And so a couple really interesting things happened. After I draw the map, I never see Trevor ever again. He like disappears from class. Of course, we already never hung out outside of class.
Right.
So I didn't realize that my little code words were probably a complete and total joke to him. Mm-hmm. So I send him like some little messages on MySpace, like basically like the code words, like the call it off, like, hey, let's not do this. Another funny thing, we never really know when the guns got stolen because my father had like shiny object syndrome, and I definitely have inherited that from him. So 1 month or 1 year, you're making websites or playing video games, and then the next month you might get really obsessed with the RC cars or the planes. And we even shifted from shooting to making bullets at one point. We had so many hobbies. I was constantly building cars with him, RC cars. And I remember telling one of the girls at my school, oh, yeah, I'm going to be pretty busy this weekend. We're making shotgun shells in the garage. It's called reloading. And she goes, that's why you don't have a girlfriend. Right. And I was like, fuck, she's right. I had a crush on her, too. Anyways, so a few months go by. We're not shooting the guns as much. We're not getting along. Things have been going downhill in so many areas with my mom. She's hallucinating that she's building houses with Elvis and we're going on these long drives and it's always left. No, it's another left and another left and another left. And Elvis has 3 butt cheeks right now. And that would make us laugh a little bit. And my dad would get pissed. It would be laughing at my mother's psychosis. And there's a bunch of weird stuff that's happening. So, okay, where are we? We're a few months out from me drawing the map.
So this kid just never goes back to school. You draw the map, and he just never comes back to school.
I never saw him again. No.
Okay.
Yeah, and that probably should have been my first sign that this was probably happening. And I remember within a week or two, my sister and I thinking that maybe we heard something in the house. And I went to the poop room and got one of the pistols and like went downstairs and looking around corners because we both heard it, but we couldn't find anybody. And I wonder if maybe that was them.
Right.
What I do know is a few months later, I'm getting driven to a guitar lesson with Dan, who's a terrible guitar teacher. And I hate to say that. He had a good heart. I know now some decent teachers, and there's a lot of basics he skipped. I digress. I'm getting driven to Dan's guitar lesson. My dad calls me, and this is like when you hear about 9/11 or something. Like you'll always remember where you were, what you were doing, you know. And my dad's saying, I went to clean some of the guns and they weren't there. And I'm saying, I just start shaking. Corbin, are you there? Corbin, I don't see the. Oh, yeah, I think we cut out for a second. No, the guns are gone. I'm just freaking out. Whoa, really? Maybe they're in the car, or maybe we forget to shut the trunk and someone could have fallen out or something. I'm starting.
You already sound like you did it.
I'm already fucking up. And so I go to this guitar lesson with Dan, and I'm just shaking like a tree the whole time. He has me playing YYZ by Rush. I don't know if you know it. It's this insane technical. And so I'm like sitting there and I'm screwing it up, and he's just looking at me like, because he was so like kind of just unconstructive criticism. Like he would just kind of look at me like, oh, I thought you were getting it. You know, and that was it's like I thought we were making progress. Bad. Yeah. Okay, I guess we're not. And so we go back home. The cops are there. And they're, of course, asking, what do you know? Do you know anyone that would have done this? No idea, your officer. Oh, my God, this is terrifying and weird and scary. And I wouldn't know the first thing about what could have happened. And just like shaking, and Officer Billington is there.
Has nothing to do with Trevor. I tell you that right now.
Yeah, right, yeah. If there's a guy,
nothing to do
I wouldn't think it would be like Trevor Vincent. Yeah. So Officer Billington is there. And he already knows me from the garage bullshit.
Right.
So he's looking at me sideways. And I'm kind of starting to know that. But I'm also like, maybe I could do this. Because there's another. Do you remember the movie Thank You for Smoking?
Yes.
I think there was part of me that just saw myself as that guy. I was so delusional. I was like living like a Walmart fantasy of like The Sopranos and The Wire and Thank You for Smoking, like if they all had a baby. And so basically a couple days pass. I'm feeling pretty bad about this. I'm feeling pretty torn up, freaked out. I can barely sleep.
If you sleep hot at night, you know how disruptive that can be. Whether you're having trouble falling asleep, you're waking up sweating in the middle of the night, or all of the above. That's where Ghost Bed can help. As the makers of the coolest beds in the world, Ghost Bed is your go-to for cooling mattresses, cooling pillows, and cooling bedding. From their signature Ghost Ice fabric to patented technology that adjusts to your body's temperature, every Ghost Bed mattress is designed with cooling in mind. So whether you want a plusher mattress that cushions your shoulders and hips, or a firm option with exceptional support, your Ghost Bed will keep you cool and comfortable all night long. When you purchase a Ghost Bed mattress, your comfort is guaranteed. You can try out your mattress for 101 nights, risk-free, to make sure it's the right fit for you. Plus, they offer free shipping, and most items are shipped within 24 hours. If you're not sure which Ghost Bed is right for you, check out their mattress quiz. You'll answer a few questions and get a personalized recommendation. Just visit ghostbed.com/Cox and use code Cox at the checkout.
Because I'm looking out the windows wondering if they're going to murder us. Like I'm actually starting to wonder about this. That comment really sticks out very clear, and it's going over and over and over in my head constantly.
But you do have the $50,000 coming.
But I've got the $50,000 coming. Yeah. And I think at this point I kind of knew it wasn't coming.
No.
I think it was
You're checking the mail?
Right. It's starting to dawn on me. There's another Netflix documentary about some guy that finds, like, I don't know if you know it, he like finds cocaine on an island and he tries to smuggle it in. And the whole time the CIA knew like every step and he was just helpless. I feel like that guy in the documentary. Anyways, I hope maybe we could find it. But so 2 or 3 days later, I go to my dad and I'm feeling pretty bad about the whole thing. So I say, well, at least you'll probably get some insurance money. So it's like nothing happened, right?
Does your dad think?
Yeah.
You think maybe you might be involved?
I think this is what happened. So my dad looks at me and says, well, because there's no sign of forced entry, we can't get any money. There has to be a sign of forced entry. And I look at him and I say, well, what if we found some windows that we don't normally check and that we could have conceivably forgotten to check when the police originally came, and we break them or cut a little hole out in the screen or something? And he looks at me like, what the fuck? Like, I think that's when he probably started to have a real clue. And also, I don't know if this is something I glossed over. I want to backtrack for just a second. When because what happened was very serious, and I feel really bad about it. And I don't know if I included this part, but when Trevor was convincing me to do the scam, one of his arguments was, because I told him, well, I don't want to be responsible for someone losing their life. And he told me, we have to think about it like this. With the family, he said you have to think about it like
with
this.
With the family.
Are you going to be taking someone's life, or are you going to be saving someone's life? Because if we're not protected, we might as well be sitting ducks. And, I mean, I'm on drugs, and, some of this twisted logic did get to me. But, I mean, at this point, it's over. Like, the guns are gone. I'm wondering if we could get killed by him. I'm worried about getting caught. I'm coming to terms with this fucked up thing happening and not getting any money out of it. Just this, huge shame, this massive, massive mistake I made that I can't take back. So when I asked my dad if we should maybe cut a hole in the windows, I think he was starting to get on to me.
Right.
And during this time, I was a kid that got 110 in my math class, even when I was stoned. And I was the only kid that was allowed to listen to music on my headphones, because they knew well, just let Corbin do his thing. Whatever, he's getting good grades. And I just, and I was pretty good at my vocabulary in English. And I would still like to consider myself a decent speaker and a decent talker. But here and there, I was experimenting with wearing a hoodie and being like, man, I don't fucking know. Just.
God, it sounds worse than when I say it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know
No,
what I'm saying?
I'd be trying that out sometimes. And when you're coming of age and
sometimes
you're a kid.
It'd be like that.
Sometimes it'd be like that. You hear? I don't know.
You feel me?
Yeah,
you feel me?
I feel you, dog.
Off the cuff.
We're so white.
Off the muscle. Off the muscle. That was a big. Did you ever hear that one?
Never heard it.
Off the muscle?
I don't think I've heard that one.
Yeah, I heard that one for a while. I
Yeah.
thought they were trying to push that. And
yeah. So there's a couple of things I do that are probably suspicious, like just talking to people and divulging little things. But ultimately keeping it under wraps and kind of realizing like, holy shit, shut the fuck up, you know? And so I think there was this one girl, and I remember saying like, I could have some money coming, and like I'll take pills, and I don't know, I'll just go home and like play Grand Theft Auto and shit. And like,
how uncomfortable.
It was bad, dude. It was bad. So, I'm not proud. Not one of my finest moments.
Yeah, some money coming.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly when.
Yeah.
But I check the mailbox every day, waiting for the package.
Oh man, dude, it's bad. The whole thing is just.
I'm starting to think Trevor. I don't think Trevor's a man of his word.
And it's like if I don't laugh about it, like I'm just gonna break down into like uncontrollable tears, because it's the whole thing. You know, this was like my mother's death coping thing, and so I just fucked it up. So within a week or two, I get home from school, and my dad tells me, hey, police want our official statement. We're going into the station to talk to them. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. I'm sweating bullets. But I'm thinking, okay, this is it. I get to face it head on and we get to be done. So going to the station. And it's like, have you ever seen those JCS crime videos? Those interrogation videos?
Yes.
Yeah. See,
at this point,
yeah.
Corbin is extremely nervous.
Right, yeah.
The cop walks out of the room.
I watch those videos like with so much horror, because when there's these people, I was this guy where you go into the interview, you don't know you're getting interrogated, and because of that lack of awareness of the seriousness of it, and probably a shit ton of things they already know at this point.
Yeah.
Right. They end up telling me later, like, we don't ask questions we don't know the answer to. Right. And so when you're going in blind,
I always love that. That's not to me. It's like, well, what are we doing here then?
Right.
Why are we talking?
Yeah, that's a good point. And there were things I found out that they didn't know, that there's no way they could have that nobody could have known, because only I knew them and only Trevor knew them. But they definitely knew some shit.
And Trevor's not talking. He's a gangster.
Right. He's a gangster. It's funny you say that. So they're interviewing me, and I'm just saying, I have no idea, blah, blah, blah. No, I don't know. It's weird, man. And I'm like, I think they were saying I was talking to the wall most of the time. So I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I couldn't tell you. It's like if you were interviewing, I'm like, I just don't know. Like I'm acting super fucking sketch and super weird. And so they end up like kind of taking my statement. Okay, we're gonna take your father and your sister into the other room. We're just gonna leave you in here a little bit. We'll be right back. At this point, I should have known something was going on. And I think I did start to have a clue. Basically, they come in and they say, okay, so this is your story, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's my story. It's okay, well, we would appreciate it if you were honest with us. So I am being honest. I said, well, we got Trevor in the other room and he's talking. Okay, so you're going to want to talk. And also, we have the MySpace messages. So if you don't start talking to us, we're going to break it off. You know what that means? I said, no, I don't. What does that mean? So that means we're going to take a broomstick, or we're going to shove it so far up your ass that you're barely going to be able to see the handle. We're going to with it, and you're going to be bleeding all over the floor. And then we're going to break off the handle and shove it in further. You ready for us to break it off?
The cops ask you, is there an alternative?
Well, I can't really underplay like how broken I became. Like I broke completely. Like I start crying.
Most 14-year-olds would,
Yeah.
they would be gangsters, but you're soft. Most 14-year-olds are known for being
and
gangsters.
also, if I say anything, like, what if we end up getting murdered too? Like, I don't know. And so, and I think I was 15 at this point.
Okay.
Because this is sort of the interesting thing I remember. They're like, well, it happened when you were 14, but you're 15 now, and because of that 1 year, there's extra charges and things we can do. And so there's, I remember that conversation pretty clearly. And
we can charge you as an adult. I was 14 at the time, but
we'll get to that.
I hear you.
We'll get to that. So, I start breaking down, but I'm still not really being honest with them because if you remember, like again, I fucked up. I shouldn't have done it. I hated the fact it was violent. I never really wanted to do anything violent. Absolutely terrible person, blah, blah, blah. But I did go to fucking Trevor and I was a piece of shit and I drew him that fucking diagram. And,
right.
And I came up with the MySpace. That part was mine. Trevor came up with the other bullshit, but I had the idiot cyber part, okay? And so I'm basically just saying, oh, Trevor bullied me into it. He said I had to do it. He said he would beat me up or shoot me or this or that and blah, blah, blah. They come in and they're just like yelling further and further and further. And my dad's yelling at me with them. And it's like, which kind of upsets me because it's like we could have had a lawyer present or like he could have tried to look out for me. But it's like, there's no one, like my mom's dying. There's no one on my side. And so I just completely break down and completely obliterated beyond belief. And I swear to fucking God, I get to a point where I'm not capable of lying. Like, I actually am that broken. Like, I'm just telling, because I had, like, these diagrams of a timeline of events that I was trying to spell out to them. And they're saying, like, this fucking bullshit. Like, like, you're saying that he threatened you at this point, and that's why you made a MySpace plan with him? And I'm like, okay, guys, you fucking broke me. Here's the deal. And so I basically, I'm like, yeah, I cooperated. It was his idea. MySpace was my idea. This, that, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. And we ultimately agree on three things. That I drew the diagram, obviously. I collaborated with Trevor Vincent. And then this was the big one that they did not want me to fucking have in there, which was Trevor told me he would kill me if I ever talked.
Right.
And they pushed me so hard on that point. They're like, we know you're lying. I'm not fucking lying. Guys, I'm crying. I'm broken. I can't fucking lie to you if I wanted to anymore.
Right.
This happened. I've been fucking looking out the windows, unable to sleep every night. And I'm damn sure going to be doing that tonight. Because he probably, you know, I'm not even saying this, but it's like, he told me he's a blood. The guns are gone. Right. Clearly, this is a dangerous person. And I wonder, there's so much to be said about that, but I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. So I'm 15. At this point, they tell me, here's what's going to happen. We've got to sign a confession. Because of the nature of this crime, because of how serious this crime is, we dug up a lot of your messages online with the Patriot Act. I
thought Trevor gave it to him in the next room.
Right. God only knows. And they probably very well could have been lying about that. So we used the Patriot Act because of the seriousness of this. We don't need like to even do a trial. Like it's going to get like laughed out because you're 15 now. It doesn't matter that you were 14 when you started it. You're 15 now. In the state of Texas, there's special laws where because there's gun trafficking and it's a hot button issue, the judge is gonna have a certain way they look at this with Columbine and school shootings. You're gonna get tried as an adult. And you're going to be going to prison for minimum of 10 years. So because of the special nature of this crime, we're going to let you go home with your family for 2 weeks.
Oh my God. You had me until I can go home.
You're gonna go home with your family for 2 weeks and you're going to come in and self-surrender. And so I love that
And then what? We're going to what? You're sending me to Guantanamo Bay where you're going to waterboard me? Get the fuck out of here.
Well, dude, I don't fucking know. I'm a dumbass 14-year-old that like thought I was going to get $50,000. Like I probably look like such a fucking idiot. Like I look so stupid, you know?
You should have walked out of there and said, oh, and when you fucking find Trevor, tell him I'm looking for my fucking 50 grand.
Yeah, really. So
he still owes me.
Yeah. So obviously that was like a scared straight. And I have one buddy. I don't always agree with him about all of his perspectives. He almost thinks that because my dad was like so angry and like psycho angry, that maybe that's part of the reason they like let me off. But I'm also thinking like, well, my life was threatened. I was a fucking kid. Like, was there anything they had to work with anyways? I don't know. I'm actually curious of your opinion about this.
I think the fact that you believed that this kid was possibly what was he? Did you say
a blood?
Possibly a gang member. That you also probably believed that you were in danger.
Yeah,
or could be in danger. Why they would have? I think they were just trying to scare you. I don't think that.
Yeah.
I don't know that letting you go. I think you were 14 at the time. So when the guns were stolen, you were 14.
14 or 15, verdict's out. Yeah.
Okay.
But caught when I was 15.
Okay. Either way,
yeah,
you're clearly a child.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're not going to be. You're not going to be tried as an adult. You've never really been in trouble before. You know,
right.
Like it's not like this is like, oh, he's been in juvie 4 times. He's broken into 30 houses. He's a little menace.
Yeah.
You're just a middle class kid that got together with the wrong kid. And when they go and they look at this kid, if he has been in trouble a bunch, they're probably going to be like, okay, he's the driving force behind this.
Right.
And I think that they'd probably just let you go because you were young and your dad was furious and they knew this fucking dad's going to punish him and be all over him.
So it almost did seem like my dad's anger might have been part of a saving.
Helped you as opposed to your dad trying to sit in there going, well, he didn't know what he was doing and he's a good kid and he's this and he's. Whereas your dad's probably like, listen, I'm gonna beat this kid's ass. He's not leaving us. He's going to school and coming back until he's 18 and he's out of my fucking house. They're probably like, okay.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. School back in his room.
Yeah.
And then when he graduates, I'm throwing him out.
So when we get home that night, I mean...
So yeah, that may have helped you.
Yeah, maybe it actually did. And there's certain things I wish I could almost go back and tell him thank you for almost. Right. But I mean, there's some bullshit too it's hard to let go of, and there's but I mean, yeah, he did his best. And, we were a broken family. My mom was dying and... it was a tough time for everybody. Nobody was perfect, especially me, and I was a kid. But hey, there's not too many excuses for that decision. There's really no excuses. So we end up going home. first thing he has me do is he takes a container of soap, liquid soap, and he pours it in a cup, like half of it, and stirs it, and I have to drink like a half a bottle of soap. And then
the fuck is that?
I mean,
what the fuck is that?
At this point, all bets are off. Like, he is pissed, you know, like this is the angriest he's ever been. And so he has me scrubbing the entire kitchen floor with a toothbrush, and he's kicking me as I'm doing it. And I mean, I was thinking about trying to escape, maybe, because I was thinking, okay, I'm going to prison for 10 years. And my dad's got these crazy lines he's telling me, saying, well, I'm going to have to learn how to love a felon and just...
I wonder if your dad, I almost feel like maybe your dad was having a little fun with this, you know, a little fun.
Yeah.
When you go to, you understand when you're in the showers in prison, you know what happens, right? Like you're like, oh, what happened?
No, he did that. So it turned into a prison boot camp.
Oh.
And so he had he was like, well, we're not going to enjoy this time. We have a 2-week boot camp to get you ready. And he did in the first night event, like things got sort of progressively worse, and if that's even possible. But the first night, he was so pissed. I think maybe part of him enjoyed some of the fun of it at a certain point, but he was not. There's no part of him that was enjoying it the first night, because the first night, he ends up getting one of the remaining guns out and fucking pointing it at me and saying, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to shoot you in the fucking foot. You're going to say that it was an accident and that you were cleaning the gun, and then you'll go to the hospital, and then you'll have to go to prison, and you're going to have to lie for me and say that it was you that did it. And I'm like trying to run to the door. He's running to the door. I can't get out. And at a certain point, I'm so beaten down that escaping doesn't even occur to me anymore. At a certain point, I'm just I'm starting to think like, okay, I'm about to get shot. It's going to be my foot. I'll probably get through it. I'm going to have to go into prison with a fucking foot. And oh my God, I'm going to be in the hospital for a couple of weeks. Like, I'm just starting to go through it in my head. So he's like, and I didn't even remember a lot of this for a few years. Like, all this happened, and I'm 15. I ended up going to therapy and talking about it. And I was like, well, yeah. And then we pointed the gun at the neighbor's house. And then, oh yeah. And then my dad threatened to shoot me. And it's like, you know, and I actually partially feel like I fully deserved that, which is a funny feeling, right? Like, hey, yeah, you probably should have killed me or shot me in the foot or something. I mean, what the fuck? I had the fucking gun stolen? Like, how fucking stupid could I be? You know, it's a shame. And so, you know, he has me sleeping on the floor, and if I cough, he'll come over and kick me, and then he has me, you know, he doesn't leave any towels in the shower, and I come out and he's whipping me saying, this ain't gonna be half as bad as what it's like in prison, boy, you know, and he's like, and I'm fucking naked getting whipped by my dad. I mean, it wasn't, you know, he didn't touch me, but I mean, it started to feel like things were getting to a certain level with him where it was like, okay, how far are we gonna take this? Like, I get it, I suck ass, dude. And then, like, I hated being on the back of his motorcycle, especially because of the highway. I didn't like it in general. So, of course, he takes me on this get on the back of the motorcycle, and he goes on the highway, cranks up the speed, and he's yelling, you're going to be looking up back at this day when you're in prison, and you're going to be wishing for this day back. And I'm crying, please, I just want to go home. You know, like, let's just enjoy the last week. And because I fully believed I was going to prison.
You think you're going, as soon as you go back for 2 weeks, you think they're taking you into custody?
Well, I've seen TV shows where they self-surrender. And
yeah,
clearly...
but you have to be found guilty. You have to have a...
Yeah, but they use the Patriot Act.
No.
Oh, my God!
I love the way you say that. Like, you're like, duh.
Yeah, they use the fucking Patriot Act, dude.
No.
And my dad took my computer and my TV.
The local cops use the Patriot Act.
Yeah. No, I mean, and there's like my dad was saying, like, he was having these like tirades and these like essays he's like, you hit on a hot button issue. Do you understand that? Hot button issue. School shootings. Corbin, responsible. What the fuck? Like, you know, like he's... It's just going to another level, man. And so, yeah, he takes me to a construction site and he tells me, you're the bronze and I'm the brains. You know, I hate to break it to you, but I can be a computer programmer. you can't. You're going to be at places like this when you get out of prison. So look around, get accustomed to it. I'll be learning to love a felon. You'll be 30 years old. Mom's going to be dead. He fucking played that card, played every fucking card he could. You know, you're not going to be here when she dies. You fucking took the one fucking thing from me, the one thing that brought us together, the guns. And I remember this was the night he almost shot me. He fucking was looking at me in the eyes, and we had this locked connection where we barely blinked, and he had just screamed, and you did the one fucking thing, and your mother, and we fucking shot the guns. And I mean, I just remember thinking, like, I broke him. Like, this is like, he's just as broken as me. You know, maybe more. I don't know. Who's the verdict's out at this point? And we were screaming all night, probably 4 or 5 in the morning. And so we have the construction. There's another point where he gives me a certain pill, and I don't know what it is. He had like gabapentin, and he had all sorts of weird shit. And some of it would make you bug out. And one of them, I don't know if I was having a panic reaction or if it was a pill he gave me. He was saying, oh, I can see you're starting to get to a breaking point. You should calm down. I don't know if it was Xanax or what the fuck he gave me. He gave me something, and we ended up going to a Walmart, and my jaw started opening, and I couldn't shut it, and it kept trying to open wider and wider. It gets to the point where I'm walking around the store like the movie Smile or something, like, you know, and it's trying to open itself even more.
What is going on?
And I'm wondering if my jaw is going to rip itself off of my fucking skull, because that's how heavy the muscles are pushing it down, and I can't control it. So it's probably I don't know what the fuck that is. I still don't know what that is. So I go through this bullshit.
Your dad's like a fucking psycho. Like, you're like 15 years old. He's drugging you. He's real. Okay. So what happens in the 2 weeks?
So we're coming up on like a week and a half or 2 weeks. At a certain point, I think he's getting exhausted.
Yeah, wore him down.
He's getting worn down. So he starts sending me upstairs a little bit here and there, because he works downstairs, and we're in Texas, in Dallas. It's hot as fucking D's, and he never lets us turn on the AC. But where he works downstairs in the living room, there's 3 windows. He has 3 AC units. And so it's just like the picture of a narcissist, the portrait of a narcissist, right? But I mean, I love him. He's a good guy. Did his best. I wish I could fucking hug him and tell him I'm sorry. I really fucking do. I miss him. Yeah, he's sitting there. He's working. He sends me upstairs sometimes to my room. He's taken away, you know, my Xbox, the 360 and the PS3 at the time, and the TV and the computer. And so I was able to army crawl into my sister's room where she had a TV. And I would do it at like, you know, 1 mile per hour, basically. And I would go to the TV. She had a Dave Matthews DVD, and she had the final episodes of Friends DVD. And I would watch them on 1 decibel with subtitles over and over and over. And it's like, when you lose everything like that, you have a certain appreciation for these stupid small things. Like, I remember watching Dave Matthews at 1 decibel, like complete captivation, like just complete, like, oh fuck yeah, Crash, yeah man, that's the song. You know, and so
You act like you're a POW that's done a decade in a box.
I mean, come on, dude.
In the jungles of South Asia.
It was pretty bad, you know, and maybe I'm overplaying it, but maybe I'm underplaying it, right? Like, maybe I'm laughing too much. Maybe I should just... I don't know if there is an appropriate way to tell this fucking piece of shit story. Okay?
I get it.
And so I'm like upstairs, and what's funny too about that is I had a history of watching TV at 1 or 2 decibels throughout my childhood because we weren't allowed to watch TV because of the Satanic Panic. And so it was regular for me to get up even at 6 years old and go to the TV and turn it on 1 or 2 decibels and be looking back to make sure they weren't coming out of the room. And all that was on then was infomercials. And I loved those fucking infomercials. Oh my God. I would be, and my dad was a workaholic, and a lot of the infomercials were get rich quick schemes. Mm-hmm. So I'd be going to my dad saying, hey, I know you've been fighting with mom about work and stuff. There's this guy on TV.
Did you know that you could make $6,000 out of a 1-bedroom apartment?
Yeah, I'm like, he's talking about making money and it's easy, and I know you've been I don't fully understand it, but I know it sounds like you're having a tough time and you're working a lot, and he'd be telling me, no, you don't understand. And because he was like an atheist, and he was like a hardcore atheist, and we like watched George Carlin like pretty much religiously, and it was just such a funny 360 or 180, whatever you want to call it, that our house did when my mom left. So I'm going to the TV watching Dave Matthews and Friends at 1 or 2 decibels with the subtitles on, and I'm also crawling to the banister because it wasn't like there was a section of the stairs where there were bars that you could peek through or whatever, but there was sections where it was just a wall. It only went up so high, probably a little bit higher than this table, maybe about to the middle of this lamp or a little lower, but I could go up against those walls and I could hear everything my dad was doing. And so he would be on the phone, and I mean, he had conversation after conversation about me. Mm-hmm. And so it was really weird listening to him talk about me for like a week. And he's like, hey, he fucking had the gun stolen. And I'm like hearing his friends on speaker sometimes. Like he had this one Chinese guy he worked with, and he was like, please make sure your son no access to my email. Like these like people are like mad at him or telling him to be careful, and because he works for Raytheon and cybersecurity is so important. Like he had shown me PSA after PSA after PSA of keyboards kill. Right. So, I mean, if he saw me on this podcast, I mean, he'd be rolling in his grave, just like fucking never learns anything. He was so pissed about the MySpace messages. I never lived that down. He's like, hey, I'm Corbin. I got a good plan. We're going to commit a crime and we're going to talk about it on MySpace, which really shows my age, too. Like, Jesus Christ, I did this thing on MySpace. So I'm listening to him with all these calls. He has one call. But, and I wish I could Google, because it does start to occur to me, like, can you be tried as an adult? Like, so I'm starting to wonder. I'm like, come on, I'm here at the house. Things are slowly dawning on me, but I do really believe it until I hear my dad on the phone with...
We gotta believe it. He's going to prison in 2 weeks.
Right, with my aunt, and he doesn't say it like that. He says something very vague. If you were to just be an outsider listening into the conversation, you probably wouldn't make anything of the sentence. Mm-hmm. But being as deep as I was in it, there was so many layers that unfolded when I heard it. He said something to the effect of, I just want to try to teach him a lesson so that if and when anything else comes along that's serious like this, he'll think twice about it. And I started to be able to breathe a little bit again. I kind of knew. I didn't fully know, and it was vague, and there was still like a pang of fear, like, well, that doesn't fucking mean anything. Like that, he didn't outright say, we tricked him into thinking he's going to prison for 10 years. And so...
Poor fucking kid. I'm starting to feel horrible for you. Fuck.
Right, like, should this be like gun trafficking schemer? Or
I was going to say, like, I mean, first of all, like, I get it, but I hope he hid the fucking gun. Because, I mean, you pushed somebody so far.
Yeah.
You're already, mom's dying.
Yep.
Dad's already mentally abusive.
Yep.
You're kind of an outsider in school.
Yep.
You just got fucked out of 50 grand.
Yeah.
You're going to prison for 10
years. You're going to prison, and your dad has no empathy for you at all for the prison thing. Like that at that age, at 15, who knows? You get a hold of a gun, you might say, hey, I'm better off just not being around.
I was thinking about it. I got through those 2 weeks, and my dad brings me downstairs, and he says, I've got some news for you. I've got some good news and some bad news. Of course, he starts with the bad news. The bad news is we're going to call the insurance company, and you're going to explain to them why I can't get paid out, and you're going to take full responsibility, and you're going to apologize. Okay, so I call him, and we had like this fucking customer support agent that didn't give a shit.
Right.
And my dad is sitting there like, and now what are you gonna tell him? I'm like,
yeah, was he hoping they're gonna go along with it? And they're really like, okay, like
no. And I'm like telling
working.
them, but I'm gonna turn my life around, and I'm sorry, and I take responsibility, and I'm gonna self-surrender in prison. And
this is some 40-year-old woman who can't get a job doing anything else other than customer service, and she's like, okay, listen, I gotta go.
I think at a certain point they even said something to the effect of, no, I very distinctly remember them saying like, we appreciate this call. It's not necessary. Like they already determined there was no sign of a forced entry. So I basically I get through this call, and then my dad tells me, hey, you're not going to prison. He basically just breaks the news, and you're going to be going back to school. We wanted to like scare you straight. You can't live at the house forever. You should go back to work too. I called in sick for you, so you still working at the local grocery store. You're grounded for a year. So it was like, which was funny too, because there's no way you can ground someone for a year. It's too much work. But that was the general goal was you can go to work, you can go to school, and you can't really do anything else for a year. It didn't last probably more than 2 or 3 months, and things kind of started to fade away. But, I kind of just went back to school, and I almost surprisingly for me, maybe this is why I'm so open about so much other stupid bullshit. It's because I generally never talk about anything like this. Mm-hmm. I almost never, this is very out of character for me. I've like never, no one knows about my mom. No one knows about this event. And so if you've known me for years, maybe, And so I go back to school. I don't really tell anybody. And I'm still I think I'm just in shock. I'm just kind of trying to get through the days. I do end up telling some kids that I'm kind of thinking about, like, ending my life. And they're kind of helping me out a little bit. And I'm kind of just barely getting through it. I did end up getting stoned with one kid and telling him. And I remember him saying, like, man, I've heard some bullshit stories, but that's a bullshit story. It was like, yeah, that is. And so
what happened with Trevor?
So I think what ended up happening was he had done a breaking and entering at another house in the neighborhood that I think was like probably 7 or 8 streets down. And I think they had maybe taken some TVs or something. And I think they ultimately got caught because of that one.
Did they ever recover any of the weapons?
I don't know.
Well, because here's why I mentioned that. I had when I want to say I was 21.
If they did recover the weapons, would they have given them back to my father?
Yeah, so I was like 21, 22, and I had a friend of mine who actually burglarized my apartment.
Yeah.
So I use the word friend, loosely.
Yeah.
He was a real piece of garbage. And so he burglarized my apartment. Greg Shelton, which is funny. He ripped off somebody else.
Wait, why did Greg burglarize your apartment?
3 or 4 years later, he ripped off somebody else, and that guy ends up killing him. So this is also the same guy in the painting. Remember the video where I talk about the kid that walked in and grabbed the 2 cans of paint off the shelf and went 10 feet away, walked over, put him, said, "Hey, I need to return these."
Yes.
I bought him a couple days ago, and they gave him like store credit, and then
That was Greg?
That was him. This kid's just a bad kid.
I've had friends do that kind of stuff, and they try to get you into it. They're like, "No, it's this easy," and you're like, "But why do I want a fucking free cheeseburger or something?"
Right.
Like,
not just that. It's like I got a fucking new car.
Yeah.
I got like money in my pocket. Like I'm not doing that. Like, he was a kind of a derelict, and his father was a fucking a beast also. Anyway, the point is that why did he do it? He basically was collecting keys from people he knew, and in a couple of days hit like 30 people he knew, and just robbed everybody he could. And he ended up, like I said, he burglarized my.
What did he even get from you?
Like nothing. Like, kids.
Well, what would you even
like
fucking
a couple
get?
of bottles of cologne, a watch
Maybe
that was
you
probably
had a
worth
20
$100.
laying around or something.
Yeah,
Jesus.
I remember he took my a VCR.
Yeah.
I mean, just complete fucking stupidity.
Stuff like that is just so not even like I remember like when I worked at the grocery store, like stealing this lady's purse, and like I got like $15 out of it and like ruined her life for 3 months while she got her document. It's just not worth it. Like, I mean, why would you want to do something like that.
But here's what I was saying. He stole. I had a 22 or a 3. I think it was a 380. It was a little tiny, cheap, shitty 380.
Okay.
And we're talking about you could buy back then you could buy for $100.
Yeah.
And he had stolen it during the whole thing, and I still had the box.
Yeah.
So of course, when the cop comes to write up a report, I actually have the box and I have the serial number, because typically you don't have the serial number, right? And I actually have the serial number.
Yeah.
I want to say it was. I know for a fact it had to be.
So this was a gun you owned?
The gun I owned in my house. I
Okay.
was young,
Okay.
like I said, 21, 22.
Okay.
I had a concealed weapons permit.
Mm-hmm.
No, I did not have a concealed weapons permit at this time.
Okay.
I just happened to have that gun. So he took that gun, and I would say it was, let's say, I was a mortgage broker when one day I got a phone call or a letter in the mail notifying me from the Hillsborough County Property Appraisers website that they had recovered Property Appraisers website, Hillsborough County Property Division of the Sheriff's Department, that they had raided a house and they'd found my weapon. So they raided a house and somebody had this gun on him, because he'd obviously sold it.
Yeah.
And they ran the thing and they said, this was stolen 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Something like that, because I had to be 30, 31 years old. And this happened when I was 20. So let's say 10 years ago. 10 years earlier, let's say. And they said, come by and pick it up. I came in. I said, I got this letter. They said, yeah. They went back in the thing, said, boom, got your ID. Okay, sign this here, and gave it back to me. That's why I'm saying, like, your dad's a smart guy. He's got all the documentation saying he owns the weapons.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying if those weapons were stolen, I'm assuming at some point the police recover them, because stolen weapons are typically sold to criminals, and those criminals eventually get caught, and those weapons are eventually
That was another
recovered.
thing he was saying. He was saying, like, you're going to the prison for 10 years, and then anytime it turns up in a case, that's going to be additional charges and time. And so, you just better hope that they don't get used, or the serial numbers don't come back, or whatever it is. And so
that's why I was wondering if they ever got caught. You don't know.
So did you get the gun back?
Yeah, I got the little gun.
So I don't think he got the guns back, or if he did, he didn't tell me.
I feel like I know your father, and I feel like you would have gotten a phone call every time they recovered one.
Yeah.
He'd have been like, so.
Yeah, probably.
Remember 8 years ago?
Yeah, probably so. And so I don't know that they got him back. And I think probably part of the kicker of the anger and shit too is I think he had some money under the bed. So, and I think I just fucked up. I know I fucked up, and so Anyways, where were we?
Just that event. You went back to school. You didn't really ever hear about what happened. It sounded to me like you just never really heard what happened to Trevor.
Yeah, no. So I actually did. Oh, okay. A little bit. I don't know that Trevor Vincent was his real name either.
Who is this fucking kid in a middle school?
Dude, that's why I'm telling you.
CIA. You think he was a plant?
I don't know.
He was a plant.
No. So what ended up happening? So I think they got caught through another house break-in. I heard something about that. I was kind of detached from it, and I actually do want to go back to when I was 16. After this story, okay, but at this point, I'm about 18 or 19, and I've recently graduated high school. I'm in community college. I have my first girlfriend, and I'm kind of like laying low on weed, and I'm not touching drugs, and so things are kind of starting to go a little better for me. I did get a call, and it was like, "Hey, we're an investigator," or I don't know who it was, but it was very. It was like, hey, we have some trial against Trevor. You could be a witness. Like, are you interested? Basically, like, there's no pressure. We understand some of the history, and I was like, no, I don't.
Like, if he still owes me $50,000, I'm ready to see this guy fucking sweat.
No,
I'll be on the in the box going, you still owe me $50,000.
Yeah, so. I told him I wasn't interested. I didn't want to part in it anymore. And as stupid as it is, I mean, there's even now, there's part of me where I'm like, maybe he'll see this and come murder me or something. You know?
My
I mean,
God.
like, there's no way. I know, but it's an emotional thing.
Yeah.
Right? It's like you can't. It's your body. It's the fear of everything that happened from that time frame. You know? I mean, it was so intense.
He's probably in prison right now.
I don't know. I know psychologically there's nothing to worry about, but you know, from just a visceral standpoint, it's like even now. I mean, there's no way. I mean, I would. Yeah. Just fuck that guy. So anyways, so that's the last I ever heard of Trevor. Now, directly after this, say about the time I turned 16, still having problems at the house, working at the grocery store. And I had been spending like a ton of money on like random sandwiches and stuff. My friend would joke, like I just give my whole paycheck to this sandwich place, which. But at a certain point, I started wanting to be like a YouTuber. And so I saved up for a flip cam by eating like nothing but like Chef Boyardee every day. And I don't know if you remember back then, but like flip cams, they were like $200 and they're like kind of like the iPhone, but it was just a video camera. So I get a video camera, and again, we had kind of almost been raised by George Carlin specials in a certain way at this point.
Right.
And I had also gotten really into The Amazing Atheist, who's a YouTuber. To this day, his channel is now called Into the Fray, because I think he's gotten kind of bored of atheism. Back in the day, probably around 2006 or 7, 8, you know, being an atheist was like kind of cool and edgy, and like you could kind of have, maybe it was partially just being in high school, I don't know, but I think as time has gone on, it's like no one gives a shit anymore. But like there was like the Richard Dawkins had like the God Delusion come out, and so I figured like, okay, I'm gonna get this camera, I'll do kind of like atheistic comedy. There's no way Dad's gonna go for this, of course, but so what I would do is I would set up the camera on like a stack of books with tape right by the window of the driveway. And I'd be like, I'd write out my scripts, and I'd be like practicing them. Like, okay, you motherfuckers, like trying to put on a personality, and like looking out the window, like making sure he doesn't come home. And I did it for like a pretty good while. I probably got like 20 or so vlogs together. And then I felt like I was actually kind of starting to find like a voice and like a visual style. And then I was in AP English. And this was a public school, by the way. It's total bullshit what happened, but I have to let it go. It's forever ago. This is like one of those things with people. It just always bugs you. So I had this English teacher, Mrs. Miro, and she was Catholic in a public school, and she had it in for me. Like she had heard me saying things like, he would be like, I know you didn't read that. How did you get a good grade on that? And one time she heard me say, gradesaver.com, bro. And she was like, great, who's on Gradesaver? It was like this website where you would find like leaked tests and stuff, and I was always on there like cheating my ass off. So we had like the perfect project for me. I was like never reading as much as I should have, and just like generally fucking off and like stoned half the time. I think at one point they even had the police search our classroom just because of people suspecting I was on drugs, maybe. I don't know if it was me. Maybe it wasn't me, but they did look through our classroom at one point. So she gives us this project that we're going to do an AP satire project. And I'm like, fuck yeah, like this is it. This is the project. I'm so stoked for this. And so I get my buddy Brandon, and we come up with the idea that I'm going to dress up as a Catholic priest. I'm going to go to some playgrounds. I'm going to have candy. I'm going to try to like get kids to hang out with me. And it's going to be like obnoxiously gay. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going around to these playgrounds like on video, like as I was the name of my character was Dick Lickington. And so I'm going around as this like, and it was Dick Lickington's Catholic Camp for Boys. And it was, the tagline was, where all the boys will play with my toys, or something like that. It was just really obnoxious. And so, but I had kind of a big head about it because I knew we had done something like significant. And I knew that like it popped. Like you watched it and I was swearing throughout the whole video, but I was editing so much back then and I was kind of starting to do a couple extra things. And so like I would cover up the swear words with my mouth with a picture of Jesus, and I had like the bleep noises. So there was just all these like little tongue-in-cheek things I was doing. And so I got really excited about turning this project in because I figured like, okay, I fucked up the whole class, but like I'm getting a straight A+ on this bitch. And so I was making designs on the CD. I burned it to a CD and I had a Sharpie and I'm like writing like best project ever, like project to be shown for the next 50 years. Like I'm like fully fucking losing it, probably stoned. And I also uploaded it to YouTube early, of course, because I'm like, okay, well, this is the real start of the channel. This thing's gonna take off, and so it actually does. We get like within the first day, we're at like 850 or 900 views, like within probably 5 or 6 hours. That's huge for me. I'm struggling to get like 50 to 100 views on a video, and this is just day one, and people are talking about it. You're actually seeing it. You're actually experiencing what it's like to do something that is noteworthy of talking about. And like people are like saying opinions about it. And my buddy Brandon also had it like on a USB flash drive. One thing leads to another, and some girl gets it on a flash drive and gives it to the teacher. And they call me into the principal. They're really pissed. This is a public school, but for whatever reason.
But this was a project.
And this was a project, but for whatever reason, this was just unacceptable. This was like offensive to her. And she's saying, I'm going to give you a 0 on this project on the grounds of you're worse than a plagiarist. And I didn't understand that. I still to this day, like it just really messed with me. She's like, it's not plagiarism, but it's worse. And like, I saw your little fucking thing to The Amazing Atheist. The Amazing Atheist didn't even do a video like this. Mm-hmm. How was I plagiarizing that he was an atheist? Like, I don't know what the deal is. I mean, there was a video I did that wasn't a project where it was kind of like some stuff he was doing where he was making fun of makeup tutorials. I was doing all sorts of crazy shit back then. But, so she ultimately fails us. And then, and my channel name at the time was CorbeezyJD. It was like, take it easy, I'm Corbeezy. I had all these like lines I was trying to start. And one day I'm like at a hockey game with my buddy. My dad calls me and he's like, well, Corbin, I'm just not sure about stuff anymore. I'm like what? He's like if I should just be calling you Corbin or Corbeezy. And I'm like, fuck, dude. And so he calls me home and he has me delete all of my videos in front of him. And he's telling me one day you're going to look back on this and you're going to thank me. And it's like, no, I don't.
I think if I kept it up, I might have 1 million subs right now.
Exactly. And the way YouTube has gone, like every year it just gets bigger and bigger and people, like it's less and less of a big deal even to have a following. It almost feels like a weird normalized part of culture in a certain way. It's like,
that reminds me of the, in the Social Network, the movie, in the book, I forget what the book was called, where it's just talking about the creation of Facebook, where the two twins go to the dean of the college and they're saying, listen, he stole our idea. He made this website. Facebook. He made it, but he stole the idea from us. And he's like, okay, so what? He's like, well, you understand this is worth a ton of money. And he's just like, what are you talking about? Like, this is worth nothing. He hasn't stolen anything. This is, he just completely disregards the fact that because he has no idea.
Yeah.
He's one of these guys that still thinks, oh, the internet? Oh, that's a fad.
Yeah, totally. So it's just a weird experience. I just remember.
You think your dad would have thought.
Maybe, right?
Maybe this could be
but also
something
keyboards
that has
kill.
interest.
Keyboards kill.
Keyboard kill.
Keyboards kill.
Is this you?
That's me. How did you find that?
Oh my God.
I got it.
What channel is it on?
It's on, this is on, so 1 second, let me back out. Corbeezy J. So
I didn't even know. But is the Catholic video on there?
No, there's only 4 videos on there.
So okay. 3 or 4 years later, I went back on YouTube and started posting little things, but it didn't have the same tightness that it had. Like when I was 16 and I was on like Hydros and Bud and I was watching The Amazing Atheist and George Carlin specials and I was editing and writing my scripts to be tight. Maybe I'm giving it more credit than it deserves, but there was something special about those videos. They had a certain edge, and that fucking Catholic priest video had a serious edge. At this point, I'm 19. The videos are kind of fucking stupid.
I mean, I can tell just scrolling through the scene. There's a lot of different scenes. There's like little cuts. Like
there's little cuts.
There's it's like a little skit or something.
Yeah, so I have some skits and I don't stand behind those really. Like I don't think that they're decent videos. They're kind of just trash that I did for fun with some buddies. And I always sort of had that was a commercial I made for a class, and I still I actually get paid to make commercials now, commercials.
This is 12 years ago.
And
you gotta think about what's going out on YouTube 12 years ago.
No, and that's the other thing, right? Is so even some of the slop I was making 12 or 15 years ago, every little extra ounce of energy you put into a video, no matter how small it was, it got a pretty large amount of appreciation. Now you can go put you can make like $1 million video basically. And if you don't have distribution or an audience, maybe I'm just like jaded at this point or I can't let go of it. But it's a different fucking ballgame now, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
So basically I drop out of college. Just like my dad, I went to do pre-med and then I'm like, fuck this. And I just dropped out. I was working 3 jobs and I couldn't handle it. I was considering becoming a nurse, dropped out of nursing school too. And so I didn't know what I was going to do next. So I'm also convincing myself I'm going to be a stand-up comedian at this point because I don't really want to be on the internet as much and I can go out to clubs and live life and, live my famous dream. And I'm also like kind of a prima donna musician. I have all these weird things. And so I'm at an open mic night, and what's funny is there was like 3 jobs I got because of an open mic night. Because you're talking to the comedians, like, I don't know what to do for work, and they're all these weird people, and they're like, oh, I know this thing and this thing and this thing. So I got a job installing art pieces in a museum. I got a job, and then the big one was petitioning. So this is like the world's. Have you ever interviewed a petitioner?
What's I don't know.
They're the scummiest people on the planet.
Then I probably have.
If you should try to seek out like at least 5 of them.
What's a petition? What does it mean?
So
what is that?
So I had this buddy. He would go on crazy to say you gotta just if it looks shitty, just look at the job post anyway. And so it's a job where we were looking at the job post and it was like, go collect signatures. You get 50 cents per signature or 75 cents per signature. And so I'm thinking, okay, I could do that. I could get like 100 people to sign this. And that's like, I could maybe even get 125 every day. That's $100, $125 or whatever it is as the pay is going up and down. And so this just really started the next chapter for me of something I did off and on for like 10 years. This really dumb job. I went like in and out of tech jobs, and then I'd go back to this like idiot petitioning thing because like sometimes I get to meet girls when I was doing it, and there's like a certain romance to it. There was like a couple girlfriends I got out of it. And so basically you just go out on the street, you collect signatures, whatever you make, you earn. And when I first started, we had like 75 cents a dollar. But as time went on, the prices started going up, $2, $3, $4. And you could get, I could get like 100 or 200 signatures.
Right.
You'd be hustling the entire day, running around a downtown area like a chicken with your head cut off. But it's not that hard to get a stranger to sign. You're like, hey, I'm just doing a petition. I don't want money. Yeah. I've done it 10,000 plus times. And so I very quickly, to my surprise, within like 2 months, I saved up like $9,000, which I'd never had $9,000. So to me, this is like $1 million. So I moved to LA and start realizing how fucked I am, basically, and that I'm not going to be able to afford it there.
Right.
And I got a job as a streamer, getting paid $15 an hour as a webcam musician, which was another job I found through an open mic night. This was a startup that they were trying to compete with like Twitch or something. But this was also like probably 2014 or something at this time.
Okay.
So I'm doing this random guitar stuff and I'm going in and out of petitions. What's interesting about the Kanye story is I had finally worked my way out of these bullshit petitions where I got a decent tech job doing sales, actually. But I was doing well. I was on the phone and selling websites and software. And I worked my way up at like 3 different companies in San Francisco. And I even had like a decent chunk of money in the bank, even for San Francisco, depending on how you look at it. But I just hated the job so much. And there was like these petitions coming out and they paid like, some of them were paying upwards of like $15 to $20 a signature. And I'm just thinking like, oh my God, I can go do this. And I could probably make like a quick extra 30 or 40 grand and I could figure out what's next. And that is actually kind of how they work. Once the prices start going up, it's not unreasonable for you to have a $20,000 or a $30,000 month. Now, what you're going to do the next month, that's an entirely different story. And you're going to kill yourself for that 20 or 30 grand. You're going to be fucking running around like hustling. So eventually I was working on the Kanye West presidential campaign. I wish I could say like it was like, oh, and then we got on the plane and I said, oh, you're on the ballot now, Kanye. But, it wasn't anywhere near that. I'm this little cockroach running around with like Kanye West signatures. And I think there's actually even a CNN article that was generally about me from Arizona from that time, but they didn't get my name. But I remember because there was a guy interviewing me and he was saying he was a reporter. And I was just saying the most dirtbag shit to get people to sign this petition. I mean, if you were a Democrat, I'd run up to you and say, it was like the rules of a con. It was like, hey, so I got this petition. I don't want to waste your time. So do you mind if I ask, just so even if I want to talk to you, are you kind of more of a Republican or a Democrat? Because I want to make sure if it's right for you. They
say, oh, I'm a conservative. You'd be like, perfect.
Yep, no matter what they say. Oh, perfect. Listen, I've got the thing for you. So if they say they're a Democrat, I say, oh, perfect. Listen, check this out. We're trying to get Kanye West on the ballot. The general thinking here is if you're dumb enough to vote for Kanye, probably dumb enough to vote for Trump. So we're trying to take that reality TV vote and make sure that we get it in the outer space. You know what I'm saying? And then if they say they're Republican, oh, perfect. Listen, think about it. We're trying to get Kanye on it. Listen, if you're dumb enough to vote.
So it works either way. Yeah,
it works either way. And it was just kind of a fun time. So I actually kind of got him on the ballot. I like went all over the country doing this, and it's kind of hard to really quit petitioning because there was like you'd get drunk with people and you'd like live on the road. It's almost like the van scam guy. Right. Like you could kind of do it for your whole life if you never really had a family or you never really
it'd more than pay your bills.
It would more than pay your bills.
But you're basically living out of motels
or Airbnbs, and what ultimately really did it in for me was I got a dog. I got a golden retriever. And I was like, and I had been in and out of actual corporate tech jobs. So there's part of me where like I almost feel like I'm like slumming it in a way, which I'm not because I'm like making some money. But like also like, let's be real. No one's really getting ahead that it's doing petitions. Like, okay, you got an extra $20,000 or $30,000. That doesn't really mean shit. So, I just kind of got the dog and that's kind of how I don't really want to do petitions anymore. And now I like run my own business from my house, which is leadsprinter.com, and I make commercials. I do cold calling. I do websites, and I have done some software development at this point. So the commercials I do are like mostly AI stuff, and I even have like people walking across the screen on my website that are AI people wearing my shirt or wearing a shirt that says Lead Sprinter. So it kind of looks like. And I think this is fun because I'm not like trying to scam anybody. Like anybody I get on a call to like do a demo, I'm like, check out, these are AI people. And so it's really fun. I mean, I don't really think about doing scams anymore. I haven't, I'll think about it like as a passing thought, but like from my experience, like, dude, I'm not the mastermind. Like there's no way I'm going to get caught. I have the experience. I learned that at a young age. So I'm really just working like 12 hours a day on my business. And that's pretty much where I'm at now. I wish I was working less. The last kind of funny thing I want to say, so I just turned 33 and I've been listening to you, I think, since the very beginning. Like, I think since the very first Concrete episode. It could have been a little after that. And I've listened to you, like, pretty religiously. There's a few things I've missed here and there, and, like, it's not always, but, like, I've listened to so many of your interviews. And it's so funny how you have, like, this recurring theme of single moms. And so I have to say this because so when I was like 28 when I first started listening to you. And then I went on a date with a single mom like 2 or 3 years later. And this just probably goes to show like I've watched way too many of your videos. But like I immediately had to go to one of your videos and I was like, I'm waiting for a single mom at a coffee shop. Like, I'm on my Matt Cox arc, like, wish me luck. And I think you even liked it because back then your channel was still kind of growing and you were still like in the beginning stages of it. So yeah, back when Danny Jones was Concrete. But, yeah. I think I would like to start writing kind of vlog scripts again for myself or just talking to a camera again and maybe actually trying YouTube again, honestly. And maybe it starts with just me doing vlogs and maybe I could do interviews later. But, you know, if I'm honest with myself, with my childhood and where I was kind of at, I think I had some pretty badass vlogs. Like I could talk to a camera, edit it, do the music thing. And I also have like an album. Maybe this is cringe, but like I have an album I'm going to be releasing. I've been kind of working on some of it and tightening it up. I have like 15 years of really shitty music, and after like the last couple years I think I got it to a decent spot, and I'm really excited to release that. And I think it's actually some of it's a really good sound, and I'm really proud of it. Some of the songs are better than others, but yeah, I'll have kind of a special link where you can click on it, and I want to maybe do like a debrief of what our interview was like on that special page, and then maybe just like my YouTube and my Instagram and stuff. So nothing crazy. So
hey, you guys, I appreciate you watching. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified of videos just like this. Also, we're going to leave Corbin's link in the description box so you can go check out everything that he's doing. Also, if you'd like to be a guest, please, we're also going to leave a link for our website. You can go to the guest page and you can fill out an application, which is really just it's like 5 or 6 questions. And throw a video up there. And pretty much that's it. Thank you very much. See ya.
And then you just say Corbin's new album is groundbreaking. No, I'm just kidding.